Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Good morning. The Prime Minister urging voters to get registered. Minute says those who need to should register in the shortest time possible. Crystal Cruises kicks off their voyage across the Bahamas as cruising returns in grand style. And COVID-19 hospitalizations increase. Plus, in our discussion, we are talking with Dr. Nakia Forbes about the latest on COVID and the vaccines. All straight ahead this morning. I'm Dwight Strachan, and this is Morning Blend.
It's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. It's the start of a new way. You know that it's here. It's the start of the end of the old way. Revolution. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Good morning again, Bahamas. It is Monday, July 5th, 2021. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Again, I'm Dwight Strachan. In a moment, Pamela Musgrove will be joining us. Also this morning, we'll meet the new Primary School Student of the Year, who was named yesterday. We'll find who that was this morning. And later in Morning Blend Business is a major crisis at the Bahamas Humane Society. They are overflowing with animals, overcrowded, and they need your help. They'll tell us all about that this morning. That's coming up. But first, it's time for the overnight, the latest breaking news from while you're sleeping, and the top national and international headlines this morning. In the overnight, in a statement, some political observers are sure to take as a sign that an early election is imminent. Prime Minister Dr. Jimenez calling on those who need to register to vote to do so with haste. Speaking during the 39th annual convention at Calvary Deliverance Church, the Prime Minister yesterday said, quote, "I want to encourage you all who need to register to do so in the shortest possible time." Minister appeared to crack a smile as he made the comment. He said, quote, "The right to vote was fought for by our founders. We should not take it for granted. The collective will of our people decides who should govern." Minutes has shied away from revealing whether he intends to call an early election. The next election is scheduled to take place May 2022. Several FNM candidates and party officials were in attendance at Calvary Deliverance Church on East Street South yesterday. And it says that it's time to take pride in all that we have as Independence Day approaches. But he said one of the things that we should be most proud of is our democracy and the ability to select government the people want at the ballot box. The Parliamentary Elections Amendment Bill 2020, which was passed in Parliament last December, established a permanent voter register It effectively abolished the 5-year register, making way for the continuous register of voters, which will continue to evolve over each future election cycle with the continuous addition of new voters, transfers, and the removal of dead voters and voters who cease to be qualified to remain on the register. Crystal Cruises over the weekend kicking off its first cruise through the Bahamas, promising to bring thousands of visitors to the country every month. Tourism Minister Dionisio Diaguilar saying it felt, quote, great to say that cruising is back in the Bahamas. It's a ceremony to celebrate the debut on Saturday at Pompey Square, that inaugural voyage setting sail from Prince George Wharf for a 7-day cruise throughout the islands. Representatives from tourism and Crystal Cruises and other guests on hand on Saturday to celebrate that inaugural voyage. With COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations continuing to increase in New Providence, more restrictions might be necessary. That's according to former Minister of Health, Dr. Dwight Sands. He says that there is indeed a problem. He says the number of cases over the last week, and the increasing number of hospitalizations, and the fact that we continue to have deaths ought to cause all to take a pause. Last week, Bimini was placed under a 7 p.m. curfew and saw the return of a number of other restrictions to curb the spread of COVID-19 in the midst of a new surge in cases. After months of being subject to a 10 p.m. curfew, New Providence's curfew was relaxed from 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. However, cases on the island have been notably higher over the past several days. In the past week, from June 27th through July 3rd, 428 new cases were confirmed in the country. By comparison, from June 1st through 26th, 679 cases were confirmed. Hospitalization also increased from 36 people in the hospital on June 26th to 57 on July 3rd. Dr. Sands expressing concern over the possibility that the Delta variant, which emerged in India a few months ago and is believed to be both more transmissible and more severe than previous strains of the virus, have been imported and could be contributing to the recent uptick in cases. And we reported this last week, the Bahamas has engaged in a vaccine exchange. We know the country now. It's with Antigua and Barbuda for 5,000 cases of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine. The Prime Minister confirming this. He said the doses have already been collected. Overseas, Tropical Storm Elsa sweeping across Cuba's southern coast early this morning, and forecasters say it could make landfall on the island's central shore by mid-afternoon. By Sunday, Cuban officials had evacuated 180,000 people as a precaution against the possibility of heavy flooding from a storm that has already battered several Caribbean islands, killing at least 3 people. Most of those evacuated stayed at relatives' homes. Others went to government shelters, and hundreds living in mountainous areas took refuge in caves prepared for emergencies. Elsa was forecast to cross over Cuba by Monday night and then head for Florida, where Governor Ron DeSantis has declared a state of emergency in 15 counties, including in Miami-Dade County, where that high-rise condominium building collapsed last week. Late Sunday, Elsa's center was about 270 miles southeast of Havana and moving northwest at 15 miles per hour. Its maximum sustained winds have strengthened a bit, about 65 miles per hour. We have the latest on Elsa in just a bit. The National Hurricane Center in Miami saying the storm was likely to gradually weaken while passing over central Cuba. And the Vatican saying today that Pope Francis is in good condition, alert and breathing on his own a day after he underwent a 3-hour operation that involved removing half his colon. The 84-year-old Francis is expected to stay in a hospital in Rome, a Catholic hospital, for about 7 days, barring complications, according to a Vatican spokesperson. The brief medical bulletin contains the first details the Vatican released, coming more than 12 hours after the end of Sunday's surgery. The procedure was necessitated by what the Holy See said was diverticular stenosis, or narrowing of the Pope's sigmoid portion of the large intestine. The procedure entails removing the left side of the colon and attaching the remaining parts to the large intestine. Francis was spending his first morning convalescing in a Rome hospital following the surgery of his large intestine. In sports, with one game left to play, the Bahamas' senior men's national basketball team finding itself in a good position at the FIBA Basketball World Cup 2023 America's pre-qualifiers. Going into last night's game against El Salvador, they had already secured a spot in the qualifiers by winning their first two games of the tournament. In the first game, they came back from an 18-point fourth-quarter deficit to beat Cuba 89-88 on Friday, and then pummeled Costa Rica 75-51 Saturday, both at the stadium there in San Salvador, El Salvador. Bahamas is one of 16 national teams that will advance to compete in the qualifiers in November. On Saturday night, Franco Miller led the way for the Bahamas with 11 points and 6 assists, leading a balanced scoring attack. You can read more about it in today's Guardian Sports section. And the Bahamas' senior men's national football team unable to capitalize on their chances early in the game against Guadeloupe, falling 2-0 Saturday in the CONCACAF Gold Cup preliminary round, first round of the DRV PNK Stadium in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Bahamas got the ball on the right flank of Guadeloupe's era just 24 seconds into the game. You can read more about what happened in today's Guardian Sports section. And the Bahamas' senior men's national tennis team got to the Americas Group 3 semifinals over the weekend, but fell 2-0 to Jamaica in Panama City, Panama. Overseas from the NBA, the two regular season games between Milwaukee and Phoenix this season fit the same script. Both were extremely high scoring, but both went down to the wire, and both saw Phoenix win by a single point with a free throw by Devin Booker, ending up as the game winner each time. There was also one other thing. Antetokounmpo couldn't be guarded in either game, and now it's the Bucks and the Suns in the NBA Finals. With Antetokounmpo's status a major question, the NBA's title series is set. Game 1 between the Bucks and Suns will be in Phoenix Tuesday night, the last matchup of this compressed season that navigated its way through the coronavirus pandemic, players and coaches testing positive for COVID-19, and a slew of injuries to some of the biggest stars, including Antetokounmpo and Phoenix's Chris Paul. But Paul is set to play in the finals in his first ever NBA Finals in his career. We'll see what happens to Antetokounmpo come Tuesday. That's sports, and that's the overnight. Time for your first look at weather. In your weather for today, moisture associated with Tropical Storm Elsa will affect portions of the northwest Bahamas as it continues to pass southwest of the islands today. Beachgoers should exercise caution due to the risk of rip currents at east and south coast beaches. Boaters and residents should remain alert for possible waterspout or tornado activity. Localized flooding is possible in low-lying or flood-prone areas during heavy and or prolonged rainfall events. And residents are still being advised to remain hydrated and limit outdoor activity due to high heat indices. For all areas today, forecast calls for variable cloudiness, breezy and hot conditions, scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms, mainly across the northwest Bahamas through tonight. Some showers may be heavy and thunderstorms strong to severe at times. For boaters, smoke-craft caution is in effect. Smoke-craft operators should be alert for gusty winds and higher seas in or near heavy showers and thunderstorms. Winds southeasterly at 15 to 20 knots in the northwest and central Bahamas, and easterly at 15 to 20 knots in the southeast Bahamas, seas 4 to 7 feet. Temperature-wise today, look for highs getting up to around 90 Fahrenheit, 32 Celsius. It'll feel hotter with the heat index at 105 Fahrenheit, 40 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down to about 75 Fahrenheit, 24 Celsius. That's your first look at weather this morning. We'll have your extended outlook and a look at the tropics and the latest on Elsa coming up after traffic in just a bit.
Wake up.
You are listening to Morning Blend. When we come back, we are discussing the day's top stories right here on your home for fresh news and smart talk all day. Guardian Radio 96.9.
Of the start of the new way, you know that it's the start of the end of the old way. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they want you to? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
Technology serves to make our lives better, so why not your business too? At Custom Computers, we've been maintaining our knowledge and relationships with top tech companies since 1987 and carry only the most trusted brands like Apple, Microsoft, HP, and more. No company has helped more businesses build reliable IT systems than Custom Computers. You name it, we've done it. Call 396-1101 to talk to any of our business experts. Find trust in your tech. Count on Custom Computers.
The summer you deserve is here at Alive. We do it better. Capture more moments and go further with our prepaid plans for everyone. Roam free with postpaid and stay connected with MiFi on the go anywhere, anytime. We do it better with more device offerings, accessories, exclusive deals with the list, and so many opportunities to win big. From travel vouchers, grocery vouchers, Alive merch, and more. Alive. Believe in best.
Put me in your pocket, take me away, yeah, I'm ready for you.
Travel less, but vacation more by indulging yourself and your family with the ultimate staycation getaway at Atlantis. Sleep in, relax, play, go out. Say yes to a fantastic staycation in your very own paradise just over the bridge. For reservations, call 363-6483 or visit Atlantis Local on Facebook for details.
Digital banking, online, RBC. RBC banking, online, pay your bills anytime.
RBC Digital Banking is so easy. Granny and Granddad can do it. Sign up for online banking or download the RBC Caribbean app.
With RBC, it's safe and easy. Send your money hassle-free. RBC.
Visit rbc.com/Caribbean/bank at home. RBC Royal Bank. Banking reimagined.
There's only one way to have a better morning. How? Start your mornings the best way with our 2 for $6 breakfast sandwiches at Wendy's. For a limited time, choose any 2 of your favorite breakfast sandwiches, including the fresh Strachan sack muffin, honey buttermilk chicken biscuit, double sausage muffin, or the sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit. Wash it all down with our cold brew shake or coffee. Better mornings always start at Wendy's. Wendy's, different inside and out. Excludes airport locations.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. It's the start of the new way. You know that it's the start of the end of the old way. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Welcome back to Morning Blend here on Guardian Radio 96.9. We are streaming live on GuardianTalkRadio.com and on the Guardian Radio app for smart devices. We're also on your televisions on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 and BTC Flow Channel 612. You can tweet us at MorningBlend969 or Facebook, facebook.com/MorningBlend969. Text us 4224796. On the Guardian Radio text line, powered by BTC, standard text rate supply. We'll give you the numbers to call in just a bit. We have a lot to get to this morning. We have more weather and traffic, and we'll have the latest on Elsa for you. Also, this morning, we are going to be talking about COVID, where we are, the spike in numbers we're seeing in some parts of the country, what is accounting for that, and the latest on the vaccines. We're going to be talking with Dr. Nakia Forbes this morning about that. Later, in our 8 o'clock hour, we'll meet the new primary school student of the year. We'll tell you who that person is in our 8 o'clock hour. And then in our 9 o'clock Morning Blend business hour, we are talking about the crisis at the Bahamas Humane Society. They are overflowing with dogs and cats right now. How do we get to this point, and what needs to be done to fix this? We're going to get into all of that. There's a lot to get to on this Monday morning. But let's begin with what's in the news. And in the news, big headline in the Nassau Guardian today, PM urged voters to get registered. Minute says those who need to should register in the shortest time possible. All right. We're going to get to that in just a bit. Let's begin, though, with Crystal Cruises setting off on their inaugural Bahamas Cruise Lines voyage over the weekend. Big ceremony. Show put on. We got dancers here on the front page. We got a big number of dignitaries there attending this special event, and lots of excited talk about what's happened here. Take a listen to this report from our Christina Dragovich with our partners at Our News on what happened on Saturday, and then we'll have more on what this all means for the tourism product in the country, especially after that horrible year we've had with the pandemic. Take a listen to the report.
All of the passengers, I would say well in excess of 90% of the passengers on every one of the cruises that are coming home, ported or not, are in excess of 90% vaccinated. So if you're vaccinated, you're emboldened to explore, to come off and experience the destination. I mean, obviously, one of the main reasons you go on a cruise is to experience the destinations.
Tourism Minister Dionisio de Aguilar hoping that 100% of passengers will disembark the Crystal Serenity to enjoy shore excursions and Bahamian culture as it makes its way through the Bahamas. Crystal Cruises Senior Vice President of Marketing and Sales, Carmen Roig, says she's confident that passengers are eager to explore the Bahamas given the pent-up desire to travel.
Absolutely, they will get off the ship. I'll even go a step further. Many are doing pre- and post experiences here in Nassau as well as in Bimini. So for us, it's a win-win.
The historic Crystal Cruises itinerary will stop in Great Exuma, San Salvador, Long Island, and Grand Bahama, with offerings Tourism Director General Joy Gibralou says will be a departure from typical cruise itineraries.
When they go to the family islands, they arrive at 7 a.m. in the morning, and they don't leave until 7 p.m. at night. So that differs completely from the normal model of a cruise, which is 6 hours, 7 if you're lucky. So people can get off and have a full day experience. That's going to be, some will have breakfast, lunch, and an early dinner.
Tourism officials expect the 4-month weekly sailings of Crystal Cruises will bring millions of dollars to the Bahamas. Reporting for Our News, I'm Christina Dragovich.
All right. So you heard the islands there. There were a couple missing. Some others were supposed to be included in that. Yes, not Eleuthera and Harbor Island and Spanish Wells that opted out of this. They didn't want to be a part of this. But there were supposed to be 2 other islands that were not included. What happened? Take a listen to this report from our Giorgio Bain.
4-month weekly sailings of Crystal Crystal Cruises will bring millions of dollars to the Bahamas.
Aguilar is describing spikes in COVID-19 on Family Islands. This as business owners on Bimini recently found that the inaugural Crystal Cruise Serenity Cruise through the Bahamas will not be in Bimini as planned. After a spike in cases sent the island back on curfew, Cat Island was also taken off the itinerary.
It's very frustrating. It is very frustrating. And for those of us that have been fully vaccinated, it's very frustrated when these spikes occur. And it drives home our message from the government, which is continuously to get vaccinated, because this is the result if you don't.
The government continues to encourage Bahamians to get vaccinated against COVID-19. So far, more than 30,000 people in the Bahamas have been vaccinated, still far below levels to achieve herd immunity.
Until we get fully vaccinated, this is just going to be how it goes. And until our levels get up to the desired 70, 80%, there are going to be spikes from time to time.
Okay. We keep hearing him say that, Dionisio de Aguilar. So how did the people in Cat Island and Bimini react to this? How do they feel about it? For that angle, take a listen to this report from our Kyle Joaquin.
I guess a bit disappointed in the event, knowing the fact that, everybody was kind of preparing for it.
Business owners and tourism stakeholders on Bimini who prepared for the moment Crystal Cruises docked with hundreds of passengers are disappointed that the ship has been rerouted and will not make a stop there Sunday morning. This after the island was placed under curfew due to an increase in COVID-19 cases. Keisha Russell works in hospitality on the island and says thankfully it's the 4th of July weekend and visitors are still coming in.
It's a boating capital in the Bahamas in terms of, and the proximity is close to the United States. So it's like I said, either way, persons are still doing what they can to make a living.
This is a historic voyage with the first major cruise line offering a full 7-day cruise throughout the Bahamas. But according to Tourism Minister Dionisio de Aguilar, it's not just Bimini no longer on the itinerary. Cat Island is gone as well.
The intended point where they were going to disembark their passengers on the island was the Hawk's Nest property. And really, this is an enormous tragedy that happened there. The owner of Hawk's Nest passed away. Then the general manager, you might have heard in the press, was electrocuted and died. And then, so the new owners really were just not interested in using that facility at all for the disembarkation of cruise passengers.
The cruise ship will depart Nassau Harbor Saturday evening and spend 2 nights out at sea until Tuesday when it arrives in Exuma. After that, the cruise sails into San Salvador, then Long Island. According to the Aguilar, it'll wrap up its voyage in Grand Bahama before returning to New Providence.
It is always a bit shaky as you start off something brand new. I'm sure there'll be a learning curve. As with most things, and once we've explored all the kinks in the system, I'm sure the second one will be even better, and they'll improve as the cruises get going.
West Grand Bahama and Bimini MP Pakeisha Parker Edgecombe called it a hit for the business community on Bimini, but there has to be a balance struck to ensure the health and safety of residents and visitors.
I do know that as a result of the curfew, some of those business opportunities will be lost. And so there is concern regarding that from the business community. We do, however, have to do what is in the best interest overall, not only to secure and save lives, but to ensure that the spike that we recently experienced goes down.
Reporting for the Guardian News Network, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Okay, let's get your reaction to all of this, folks. Good news, and some things we have to be concerned about there with the spikes and what that will mean for those islands that have been affected, and what that could likely mean for New Providence, which is seeing the biggest spike of them all, right? But let's get your reaction. I think that line is still challenged. Yep. So 325-4316. 325-4316 is the best number to call, or 325-459. 325-4259. You can also tweet us, Facebook us, or text us 422-4796. What do you make of this? This Crystal Cruises starting off their inaugural voyage. This is at least 6 months of this through the islands of the Bahamas. Unfortunately, not Bimini and not Cat Island this week. Maybe in a few weeks they'll be added back into the mix there. But let's see what you have to say about it. All right, here's a text regarding the impressive tourism numbers both before and it appears to be returning even after the pandemic in spite of the new and many health protocols. Minister D'Aguilar, in my view, is the MVP Michael Jordan of the Minister administration. He and his Ministry of Tourism will win the upcoming general election for the Minister administration. Okay, even if it means dragging the FM government over the finish line. Is that right? Is that right? Okay. Someone says here, Dwight, please take note of the fact that the dramatic spike in COVID cases, the increase in tourist arrivals, and what we've seen so far is just the beginning. The exponential spread is on the way. D'Aguilar's deliberate attempt to mislead the public is shameful. Israel and the UK have found that 1/3 of the deaths among Delta variant victims were among fully vaccinated individuals. Our greatest threat is not unvaccinated persons, it's tourists. Well, we're going to talk about that in a bit with Dr. Forbes, see what we know at this time. Another text here, Dwight, we are not willing to risk killing ourselves for money. Yeah, who's the we here? Because I think it sounds like some of us are. Anyway, what good would money do us if we die from the vaccine? Only in the Caribbean, our leaders refuse to be straight with us about the blood clot risk that comes from COVID vaccines. And worst, we are made to feel stupid because of these concerns. So why is it that there's no urgency? So this is why there is no urgency on our behalf. Well, okay, I hear you. You're saying that. You're saying that you're not willing, but there are people this whole thing saying that life has to go on, and essentially the survival of the fittest. Who doesn't make it through? That's that's what a lot of people have been saying, and that there was no reason. They've been saying that, despite seeing people die left, right, and center. They know people who personally died who were fine before this, and yet they continue to say, we have to continue with our lives. We got money to make. So, and then the government's hearing those people, and those people are very loud and political and threatening them as well. So it's a really tricky situation to be in, and people do need the money to survive, right? So I don't know. This one here says, why is there a spike? No masks being worn? Well, it's more complicated than that. And again, we're going to talk more about that in just a bit. So, Crystal Cruises, are we excited about it? And that's along with Royal Caribbean as well, with theirs. And that's almost a month now. And we're expecting quite a huge number for tourists over the holiday weekend, the July 4th weekend. And the summer is looking great. D'Aguilar is in the Nassau Guardian today as well. Saying that we've had over 400,000 visitors so far this year. Our Jasper Ward writing about it, saying that D'Aguilar estimated that more than 400,000 people have visited the country. He says, quote, with vaccine distribution in active progress in the Bahamas and throughout key markets abroad, as well as major hotel reopenings, and now the exciting return of cruising in the Bahamas, our country is once again seeing tourism on the rise. D'Aguilar said this during the inaugural ceremony, launch of the home porting of Crystal Cruises here on Saturday. And so, quote, while numbers remain below record arrivals seen in 2019, tourist arrival numbers continue to increase month over month. And we estimate that since the start of the year, we have welcomed almost 430,000 visitors to our island nation. Just this week, the Nassau Airport Development Company reported 55,000 travelers passed through Lynden Pindling International Airport last month. Our partners at Atlantis and Bahama Resorts informed us that they have recently enjoyed weekend occupancy rates of 90% and 75%, respectively. Crystal Cruises and the Ministry of Tourism and Aviation held that ceremony on Saturday to celebrate the Crystal Serenity's inaugural saving 7-night round-trip all-inclusive cruise, calling on Nassau, Bimini, Cat Island, Exuma, San Salvador, and Long Island without Bimini and Cat Island because of COVID. But hey, Cat Island because of some other issues, as you heard in that report. Yeah, so, boy. This person's saying people were not dying left, right, and center. Survival rates are very, very high, especially here. Well, the survival rate is very, very high, but people were dying left, right, and center more. A lot of people who A lot of people who didn't have to got very, 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 very sick. So, but most people do survive. Yes, indeed. Indeed. All right. Again, call in 325-4316, 325-4259. Tweet us, Facebook us, text us. All right. So let's get to the big headline story. You can continue to text us or call us on that if you wish. The big headline story in the Nassau Guardian: PM urges voters to get registered. Then it says those who need to should register in the shortest time possible. Our Travis Cartwright Carroll writing about this. In a statement that some political observers are sure to take as a sign that an early election is imminent, Prime Minister Minnis yesterday called on those who need to register to vote to do so with haste. He was speaking at the 39th Annual Convention at Calvary Deliverance Church. He said, quote, "I want to encourage you all who need to register to do so in the shortest possible time." He cracked a smile as he made the comment. He said, "The right to vote was fought for by our founders. We should not take it for granted. People decides who should govern." Now, he has shied away, as you know, from revealing whether he intends to call an early election, making many jokes about it. The next election is scheduled to take place, will at least be called by May 2022. Several F&M candidates and party officials were in attendance yesterday at Calvary Deliverance Church. Minnis saying, quote, "In a few days, we will celebrate Independence Day. It is a time to take pride in all we have accomplished as a sovereign nation over the last 48 years. One of the things we should be most proud of is our democracy. In our system, the people select their government at the ballot box. We have free and fair elections. We have an orderly process in how we select those who represent us in Parliament. There is a new law governing voter registration. We now have a continuous voter register. If you have questions about your registration, you may go to the Facebook page or to the Parliamentary Registration Department or call the department. He's speaking this at the church service. Yes, really? All of that? Okay. Seriously? Okay. Yeah. So that's what he said. That's very appropriate. Speaking yesterday, Minnis again touted his government's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic, saying the decision to keep in place common sense rules and compliance is paying off. He said in the early days of the pandemic, tough decisions had to be made. He said, quote, "Some of those decisions were unpopular. However, each decision was made in consultation with our public health team to keep you safe." And then he went on to talk about all of that. And he says, quote, "There is good news to report. The Bahamas is coming back. Hotel occupancy is at our major resorts is high. Cruise ships have returned, and there are more to come. Ships have even home port in the Bahamas. This means more business for our hotels, restaurants, and taxi drivers. Large projects continue across the Commonwealth." And then he went on to a lot of political stuff at the People's Anniversary. Great, wonderful stuff. But again, let's focus on what he said about the need to register to vote. And we know both parties, and the major parties, have seemed ready, in a state of readiness that they haven't been in this early in as long as I can remember. The PLP has already ratified all 39 of its candidates. The FNM has ratified 35 candidates already. Talk of an early election has been brewing for months after both parties ramped up campaign activities. And the FNM and PLP are both running political ads on the internet and on television. Again, this is much earlier than usual. And despite rising COVID cases, both parties also had candidates canvassing communities across New Providence. PLP leader Philip Davis led a delegation of candidates and party officials on a trip to Cat Island over the weekend. And on Wednesday, Acting Parliamentary Commissioner Lovato Duncanson said if an election were to be called tomorrow, the department would be ready. Up to that point, 191,000 to vote. Duncanson said the majority of people who came in to register, 33,447, are between the ages of 26 and 35. And there were also 181,000 registered voters in the 2017 election with a voter turnout of around 88%. All right, so let's get your views on all of this. Again, call in 325-4316, 325-4259. And tweet us, Facebook us, text us, 422-4796. And joining us now, Pamela Musgrove. Good morning, Pam.
Good morning, Dwight. Good morning, Bahamas.
Great to have you with us.
Good to be here.
And talking about the Prime Minister says everybody who needs to register should get registered. The Guardian says this might cause people to say this is a sign of an early election. I don't know. July.
Do you think those persons who were saying we were going to have an early election from last to November, and then we went to like February, and then and let's say we have an election next year by February, do you think that will count for those persons who say I told you so?
They don't say anything.
I told you so. We were going to have an early election.
This is around the time that people do start making the pleas, though. So I don't know if this is really out of the ordinary. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we're less than a year away from when we had the last election.
Yeah,
and early elections are when you have your polling done and it looks good for you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you are quite confident about your polling numbers, and the numbers look like, you know what, this is a win for us.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's the case with the FNM.
Right. Plus, I would advise them not to trust the polling.
Yeah.
But
No, but I mean, at some point, I know we keep saying that, but countries around the world, although the polls don't be as accurate, they still do the poll. You need something to gauge where the people are at. And Bahamians don't tend to be overly excited about an election until you call that date.
That is true.
And so you talking before that, that's nobody's paying you. Let one of the and see if anybody will turn out or in large numbers like they're used to.
Well, we're just talking about the Crystal Cruises home porting, and Royal Caribbean's been going on for a month. The hotel numbers are looking good. I think if this can continue without the COVID numbers increasing over the next few weeks, people might begin to feel a little more excited. But other than that, people are very worried because, as a texter just said, these numbers are going up as we've seen the increase in number of people visiting the country. And so you do have to wonder if there's not a correlation there.
It is normally said that people vote their pocketbooks. So the question is, with all of the good tourism numbers, is it trickling down into the wider economy? Are people now finding jobs easily because of all of this? And see, that's how you have to look at it. A lot of times politicians tend to look at this from a cosmetic standpoint. Oh, the tourism numbers are going up. When they're in opposition and the government talk about the tourism numbers, the opposition says, yeah, but that's just cruise ship passengers. And the spend for cruise ship is about $66 to $80. And then when they get in government, they toot the numbers, 7.2 million tourists that visited our shores, but only 1.5 or so of that was stopover. Now, the thing about that is that's not necessarily bad that, of course, our cruise ship numbers are higher than the stopover numbers. The key to the strategy, though, from our policymakers, how do we increase the spend for cruise ship passengers? That's when you have economic benefit. So I put it to you, right? They're bragging about these numbers. But have you gone downtown? Are the stores open downtown?
The straw market is.
So that cruise ship visitor comes to the airport. They probably catch a taxi cab, goes to the hotel, have dinner at the hotel, go to the port, go on the cruise, right? Now, the government may feel that that's good, but what happened is that money goes to the hotel. And so what happens to the money that goes to the hotel? It's exported out of the country. You see, the key for this tourism strategy to yield the economic growth that we need to increase the spend within the country. More Bahamian businesses. I'm not saying I have a problem with the hotel or the foreign investor. We just have to understand when they get that money, most of that leave the country. That's called a leakage. But the strategy has to be where more of that money stays in this country to support our reserves and to support expansion.
And we've been talking about this for weeks now, home porting and the opportunities, and we've been running into walls essentially. Other than the big hotels and the big names, doesn't seem like there's much of a possibility that people will be able to experience
that's why we cannot yield the growth that we want, right? 2019 was a banner year for us. We had 7.29 million tourists that came to our shores. Yet we had a deficit of over $700 and something million, and revenues went down from the 2018-19 revenues. So it just telling you it's tourism, but because we have not been able to develop a strategy where more of that money stays into the country and it goes out of the country by the foreign investor, we don't have sufficient in here to yield the growth and to build and to expand that we need.
Yep.
And so if you're not talking to me about that, me just using these numbers and talking and bragging about tourism numbers going up and all the money just going to the hotels and the foreign investor and not enough of that staying into this country, then to me that's a failed strategy.
We heard in the report, on one of the reports we played earlier, Joy Jiperlou, the Director General, talking about how many hours these Crystal Cruise ships are going to be staying on these islands from as early as 7 a.m. and leaving 7 p.m. Again, we wonder what will be happening on the island for those 12 hours. Will there be enough for these folks to do?
Exactly. And have we heard about that? Have we heard about what is happening? What is happening with the locals? What are they doing so that, the tourists can come off the ship, they spend locals, and that's how we build up, because they put it in a bank account that, they can only hold $B, and that goes in the bank, that goes into their bank account, and the government has more money to build up the reserves, as opposed to borrowing. To build up our reserves.
We did shows with Junkin News. We was like, what are y'all ready for this? And people were like, huh? No. We did shows about the food vendors, the vans, the buses, the trucks. Are you going to be able to do anything? Huh?
But you heard in the Prime Minister's statement, you see what he talked about? He said the taxi drivers to the hotels and the restaurants. The usual. And I told you see what the hotels are doing? The major hotels all have their own attractions. So their goal is when these tourists hit this island, they stay on the campus.
To the hotel. Yeah.
So you've got the Margaritaville, you've got Atlantis with their park, and you have Bahama investing over $200 million into their theme park. So what happens is when those tourists come, they stay on the property because maybe they feel that it's not safe to mingle.
Or the other stuff isn't promoted. It isn't promoted. Nobody knows that you can. And plus, can you go and see local music? Can you go and experience? Who knows?
Yeah.
So were we ready for this? Are we ready for this?
But I've always said, Dwight, home porting is stopover tourists or stay over tourists. And we were supposed to be preparing for that a long time ago, not just because we have home porting. He's just given it a different name. It's just linked now to cruise ship visitors, because normally the cruise ship would come in, but now you stop at the airport. So that's more money in departure taxes for persons when they're leaving, and like I said, taxi cab drivers and taxes for government. But we were supposed to be doing these things all along to cater to the current stay-over tourists.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Let's read some of your messages. Again, you can call in 325-4316, 325-4259. Text us, tweet us, Facebook us. This one says here, oh boy, this is so sad. I mean, so people, okay, there's confusion and they're not really talking to us. They're not talking to us. The Parliamentary Registration Department, somebody's asking, I still have my purple voter card and it's in good condition. Do I still have to register to vote? You do not. No. You do not need to register to vote. You already registered.
Only if you change your address. I think it's a 6-month period. You change your address or you change your name and you want to update it. Only if there was any changes since the last election where you used the voter's card.
Yeah. This one says here, the taxi drivers are making money. The hotel can hire more staff. That money is staying in the country. Gas stations making more money. Are they? Okay. Well.
The hotel staff, they pay taxes, but they pay their staff and they pay taxes for room tax and stuff like that the government would get. But to maximize, if you want to maximize this, you wonder why Europe, those do very well with tourism, because that money that stay into their country. They don't have a situation where the key aspects of their tourism product is foreign, and then so that money is repatriated from the country.
And the test will be whether Atlantis hires back those 700 people they laid off, right? If they do
that would be
then
nice.
We'll see.
But we need to have a strategy that we need some of that money to stay in the country and not be exported out or repatriated with the foreign company.
Mm-hmm. This text here, okay, this goes back to what we said earlier. Yes, she's coming up in a few minutes. Someone says here, hopefully when Dr. Forbes comes, she'll explain to us whether the health officials, including herself and Dr. Sands, have taken the shot. And more important, okay, you just woke up. Apparently, that's long been discussed.
A lot of
She
persons
said
have
that
taken the shot.
they're fully vaccinated. Yeah. We saw them do it. She said that already a couple times back since she's been here. Yes, they did it. Dr. Sands did. Prime Minister, the opposition leader, they've done it. Mm-hmm. Everybody but you. Anyway, this person says, let them come. We are either going to get herd immunity from the vaccine or from all of us getting infected. Either way, life goes on. We don't want to hear anything from the good doctor. Oh, boy. Okay. Crystal Cruise is off to a very bumpy start. Happy I decided not to join friends. I don't know what that means, that part there. Is it a bumpy start? It's just 2 islands that weren't included, and that's just for this week. So later, I'm sure it will improve.
Yeah. I think the focus of the Ministry of Tourism should be on helping to get persons around the Bahamas ready, like with activities and businesses to cater to the tourists, and so that can help the product in general and help with economic growth and development.
Yeah. So I don't know what you mean by bumpy start. I really don't know. Don't know what that is. Okay. Someone says that someone needs to pop that bubble the F&M hierarchy is in. If Dr. Mintz believes a return of tourists to the Bahamas will save him, we have some land in that 18 to 45-year-old Prospect Ridge development to sell him.
They own it.
And if the F&M believes he remittance will lead them to victory, they better have a chat with Perry Christie. Okay. This one here says, thanks, Pam. How are Bahamians reaping the benefits from all of this increased tourism? Why isn't downtown open?
But that's my point.
Why is the straw market not open?
Yeah,
why aren't the local food trucks included and artisans? Oh, yeah, they don't want the crowd with scrubby locals. They don't want them to hang with scrubby
No, but that's
locals,
telling. And you bragging about this, but it's just you're just focusing on the hotels. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what we have done. And maybe it worked in the past, but it cannot carry us forward, where our tourism product is like the hotels. That's how we when we think about tourism, we think about the hotels. Mm-hmm. And no, we're gonna maximize benefit from that. We need strategies so that we can get local businesses involved in that product. And like I've mentioned, the goal is to increase the spend of the cruise ship passengers, and you can only do that when you provide activities and attractions and restaurants and all these things that hospitality sector that they can enjoy.
Yeah, let's take these calls. Morning caller, you're on the air.
Good morning, Glenn. Morning to both of you, Amen.
Good morning.
You know, I would have really been encouraged if the Prime Minister had said, "Hurry, register to vote me out, get rid of this unfair advantage that I have by keeping the election date so close to me and giving everybody else a disadvantage." We could vote for things like that, and all the other things that they promise. But the bigger picture I want to look at is this. I heard in your report there are persons who are fully vaccinated and dying from COVID. Is that correct?
That's a text that somebody said, right? So I don't know if that is what's happening. We'll talk with Dr. Forbes in a bit.
But here's what I want you to look into. We have about 184 million cases at one point in this month, and about 168 recovered, but we only have 4 million deaths. My question to you, because I asked you a long time ago, if you had not spoken for a week or two, what would be the first word? So how would you, and I want you to ask the doctor who's coming on this question, could it be that the 4 million people who died are actually the ones that we should not be working on? What I'm trying to say is 4 million people who died. Could it be that the virus was intended to infect you, and those who died were just the result of it, and the targets were those who are still hosts? Could it be that this virus is one that's going to guarantee that's being carried by the 168 plus million, and the 4 million were just side effects, and we're treating the side effect? Is that a possibility, sir?
Hey, anything is possible, but I have no idea. I don't know if I don't know. I hear you. That's interesting.
No, but think about it, because what I'm hearing is the intent was to control population. Not to kill
Whose
them.
intent?
Anyway,
Whose
have a good
intent?
day.
Okay. I don't know whose intent. It's easier to start a war than to do all that, right? That's how we've been doing it before. Okay, folks. Anyway, let's take this call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Are you there?
Yes, I am. How you doing?
Doing well. Good morning.
How you doing, Pam?
Good morning. Good morning.
I must concur with most of what I can say. All that you said concerning the product. I think what we must realize that the cruise ships that come here and the hotels we seem to be building are all inclusive, meaning that literally speaking, 95% of all of their needs will be met on the hotel premises. So we will still have the trickle-down effect of just almost like tokenized exploration and immersion into the Bahamian product, more so on the cruise ship. So I think it's time for us, and COVID has provided us that opportunity. We focus on the 7 million. But there's somewhere between 50 and 60 million in the United States alone whose vacation or hospitality aspect of the environment has been disrupted. And so if we actually sit down and form some real economic council that's not influenced by the political electorate, that has the 5-year dream and vision, that we can now look at developing a product whereas product and supporting things that we can move to begin to attract them to head and bed and breakfast, and boutique hotels, the type of environment that doesn't have the exclusivity towards it. And so I think this is a good time. Resources are available around the world. Build out. We don't have to depend on Bahamian banks. And I just think it's time for us to change the conversation. Again, when you talk about tourism and hospitality, let's go into the hospitality business and abandoned tourism.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's read these couple messages before we go to the break. Someone says, although we are screaming 90% occupancy, there are hundreds of Atlantis staff workers still on furlough without any communications from the company or the government. Someone says here, please, Bahamians, start something and stop holding out for a job as much as you can. Well, yeah, I guess if you see something that's, especially if you're on the Family Islands or you can get to the Family Islands, this is a great opportunity.
Yeah. And that's where incentives come in. You know, I mentioned last week the incentives that are given to persons in who in the hotel business, to foreign investor. It's some massive incentives that are given to those. And so with that thought, we have to incentivize, because the cost of doing business in this country is really high. It's not difficult, and it's high. Yeah. And a lot of times, if you don't have that upfront capital, particularly just to handle customs and the VAT that people have to charge upfront, it's really difficult for Bahamians to do business in this country. It's difficult for everybody to do business, but the government saw fit to provide concessions for persons who were requesting land under on government land or whatever foreign investment that they want involved, but fit. Not just this government, but that's the policy to provide concessions for them to provide jobs. Yeah. Well, it's in the same way, Bahamian businesses need concessions.
Yep. All right. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to be talking with Dr. Nakia Forbes, the latest on COVID, the new variants, and the vaccines, what you need to know. We have lots of questions for her and a limited amount of time. We're going to see how quickly we can get through all of this. Stay tuned. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9.
I got to go. I got to go, man. I got to go back to the island. I got to go. I got to go. I got to go back.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Nassau, Bahamas.
And we've got your first look at traffic for this morning, brought to you by RBC Royal Bank and your real-time traffic. Not looking so bad out there this morning, although some of the streets are wet. Keep that in mind. We've got some Eyeballer Highway really looking pretty decent. Just as you get closer to Tawny Williams-Darling Highway in the northbound lanes, will you start to see the traffic there, but definitely not all the way down to Fire Trail as yet. Glastonbury looking even better for you. Just as you get closer to the roundabout with JFK Drive, you'll see that traffic in front of you there. Elsewhere, just some building traffic, some of the major intersections, and that's about it. Nothing much to complain about so far. We'll see how that goes after the 8 o'clock news. We'll have another update for you then. This is brought to you by RBC Royal Bank, Banking Reimagined. And we've got another check of your weather for today, brought to you by Rev Cable Bahamas. Here's what's happening. Moisture associated with Tropical Storm Elsa will affect affect portions of the northwest Bahamas as it continues to pass southwest of the islands today. Got some warnings for you. Beachgoers should exercise caution due to the high risk of rip currents at east and south coast beaches. Boaters and residents should be alert for possible waterspout or tornado activity. Localized flooding is possible in low-lying or flood-prone areas. And residents are still being advised to remain hydrated and limit outdoor activity due to the high heat indices. For all areas today, look for variable cloudiness, breezy, and hot conditions with scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms mainly across the northwest Bahamas through tonight. Some showers may be heavy and thunderstorms strong to severe at times. For boaters, smallcraft cautions in effect. Smallcraft operators should also be alert for gusty winds and higher seas in and near showers and thunderstorms. Temperature-wise, look for highs getting up to around 90 Fahrenheit, 32 Celsius. Heat index at 105 Fahrenheit, 40 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down to about 75 Fahrenheit, 24 Celsius. In your extended outlook, lingering moisture along with breezy conditions associated with Tropical Storm Elsa will continue to affect portions of the northwest Bahamas as the storm midweek. So for tomorrow, Tuesday, we're expecting mostly cloudy and breezy conditions with scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms in the northwestern islands. Partly sunny, breezy, and hot with a chance of isolated showers elsewhere. Wednesday, partly cloudy with a few isolated showers and the chance of thunderstorms in the northwest Bahamas. Mostly sunny, breezy, and hot elsewhere. In the tropics, again, Elsa, no threat to the Bahamas directly, but will influence our weather. Elsa currently just south of central Cuba. Tropical storm warnings and watches extend northward along the west coast of Florida. As of 5 o'clock, it was only about 110 miles east-southeast of central Cuba. Elsa is moving toward the northwest at 14 miles per hour, and this general motion is expected to continue today, followed by a turn toward the north-northwest on Tuesday. Elsa is expected to move across central and western Cuba today, and then pass near the Florida Keys early tomorrow, Tuesday. Maximum sustained winds are near 60 with higher gusts. Again, no direct threat to us, but will begin to influence the weather in the northwest Bahamas, bringing showers to those islands. That's your morning blend weather check brought to you by Rev Cable Bahamas. Rev, you and us together.
Enjoy an elevated mobile experience with BTC, giving you
unlimited talk for the best conversations, unlimited data for all your online fun,
and unlimited roaming to stay connected while overseas.
For just $50 per line.
Unlock unlimited mobile talk, data, and roaming when you sign up for BTC Superfast Fiber Internet with speed starting at 100 megabits per second. Enjoy more great savings and value. Upgrade or sign up today. Visit any BTC store or btcbahamas.com. Conditions apply.
Let's face it, in an increasingly competitive market, your business needs a competitive edge. That means offering your employees the benefits they want. Give them the benefit of retiring their way, with choose from some of the best performing investment funds in the market, while taking advantage of low administrative costs and professional management. Whether you're a team of 2 or 2,000, our pension specialists can design a plan for you. Contact us at pensions@rfgroup.com to learn more about the RF Multi-Employer Pension Plan. RF, money at work.
Stay a step ahead of technology with certainty and support from Custom Computers. Our know-how team is here to help you zero in on your next big tech purchase, finding solutions that take your productivity to the next level using only the best and most reliable brands. With 4 stores all across Nassau on East Bay, West Bay, Old Fort Bay, and Palmdale, there's no stopping you from stepping up your tech. Reach out to us at 396-1100. Find trust in your tech. Count on Custom Computers.
As a people, Bahamians are anxious about the future. Feeling down and out, unsure in these unprecedented times? We need to believe that love's coming back. Join us Tuesday, July 13th at 11 a.m. at orcd.co/Love's Coming Back for the virtual launch of Love's Coming Back. And from Grammy Award-winning founding member of the Eurythmics, songwriter, producer Dave Stewart, which will premiere globally at 12 noon. Presented by Bay Street Records, Bahamas National Trust, and BrylandAid.org.
This is Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
We are back with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strong along with Pamela Musgrove. And as promised, we are going to be talking with Dr. Nakia Forbes. In fact, she's joining us now. She's the head of infectious diseases with the Ministry of Health. Dr. Forbes, always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Good morning, Mr. Strong. Good morning, Ms. Musgrove. Good morning, Bahamas.
Good morning. Good morning.
All right. So let's talk about the variants. I know we are very concerned. Everyone's talking about the Delta variant and wondering what's happening, what's different about it, and whether we have it here. What do you know? What can you tell us about this?
Yes, the Delta variant, it's contagious. It's the most contagious variant so far, actually. And this variant is 60% more infectious than the B117 variant that was originally described in the United Kingdom. And those who get the Delta variant will be 85% more likely to be hospitalized. So this is very, very serious. The question about whether it is here.
Okay.
So there is a surveillance activity going on. And as per the WHO PAHO press conference, it has not been detected yet. And that conference was about 2 weeks ago. But we have to remember that these things can change quickly. And the thing that spreads COVID variants is the movement of people. And that includes travel. So with us going abroad and with travel, it would be easy for the Delta variant to be introduced in country. And so we have to really keep our guards up with this variant. It is going to be very serious. It can lead to increases in cases. Now, as it relates to the vaccines are protective against this variant. There is somewhat reduced activity, but they still are effective. And so when you look at what the information points to right now as it relates to the Delta variant and the AstraZeneca vaccine, getting infected with Delta can be blocked about 60% with the AstraZeneca vaccine. And then when you look at deaths, there's also promising information that with one dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine, the chance of death is blocked by 71% and 92% when there are 2 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine, when someone is fully vaccinated. So the key information that we have is that hospitalizations and deaths the vaccines are breaking the hospitalizations from Delta variant. And it is somewhat effective against preventing deaths. And that really has to be a very, very important point. Let me just say that vaccines against COVID-19, the SARS-CoV-2 vaccines, they will stop people from being hospitalized and dying of COVID. And they're also quite effective in preventing people from getting COVID. And I just want to say before you move on and ask me other questions that we've been looking at this at one of the sites I work at, Princess Margaret, when we looked at the trends of those being hospitalized and dying of COVID since the vaccine rollout. Those people that have been hospitalized in our units and died, none of them were fully vaccinated.
None.
Just about all of them were unvaccinated, and a small, very, very small percent, maybe 1 to 2% had vaccine.
But nobody was fully vaccinated.
Nobody was fully vaccinated. And doctors are reporting this in a lot of places, including in the United States. And so vaccines work to prevent severe COVID hospitalizations and death. That's very important.
All right, we definitely want to talk a lot more about the vaccines. But again, with the Delta variant, are we seeing reinfection? People who had COVID before who are now showing up sick again, and could that likely be because of the Delta variant? Are we seeing this at all here?
Well, I don't have the information to support that. Like I said, we haven't seen any cases of the Delta variant that have been identified thus far. But we know that if you have had COVID, there will be some immunity, but there can be such a thing called a reinfection. And some of the newer variants can lead to reinfection.
So, what about our data? Are we seeing persons who have been vaccinated getting COVID again? And what percentage of those vaccinated have received COVID since vaccination in the Bahamas?
Yeah, I don't have that data for you, but again, it's very uncommon for people who've had COVID to get reinfected. It can happen though, and there have been some cases that have been described with people reinfected with a different strain per se. And that is why the expert guidelines at this time do recommend that if you've had COVID, the guidelines are you should still get a COVID-19 vaccine.
Our end game. What are the health officials saying is the end game for the Bahamas? What do we need to do to get out of this?
Well, I'm going to tell you from an infectious diseases point of view that COVID is here to stay worldwide. It is going to be a circulating respiratory virus. And we are going to have to find ways to live with it. And this is what it comes down to now. At this time, there's no cure for COVID. That doesn't exist yet. There are medicines that can shorten a hospital course if one is admitted, and help people do better if they are admitted. And so when we think about COVID-19, without there being an actual cure, then what we have is prevention measures and other strategies. Now, the vaccines, as I've told you, they're very effective. You don't get really sick and die. And you have to combine them with the public health information, basically. And that will help tremendously so that you can protect yourself and prevent the spread of it to others. And of course, there has to be the ongoing strategies of quickly identifying persons who have COVID-19, putting them in isolation, doing contact tracing, quarantine, and the other strategies, workplace strategies, to keep it at a place where it can be managed.
Yep. I hear a person saying that we have to live with it. They say, okay, this is here to stay and we have to live with it. Yet we still have the lockdown in place. Yet we're saying to encouraging people not to travel. So I think if people can find an out of this, if there can be an out articulated to us, okay, we need to get a vaccination rate of X amount in order for us to do certain stuff. But to say on the one hand that it's going to always be here, but to still maintain the restrictions and encouraging people not to travel. When we look around the world and people are traveling, and I know I watch parts of the U.S. Independence ceremonies last night, and we were just like, wow, there were like one of those Trump rallies. There were no masks. People were just having a ball. So with us watching that type of stuff, and then at home, we are being told to do things that we were told to do initially during this pandemic. It's kind of conflicting.
Yeah, I could see why that would be confusing. So let me try and see if I could help with the context and some scientific logic, if I may. So, it's really going to depend on a lot of things. But the first thing you have to look at is your situation in country. And that can change. And so that's very important. You have to remember that things have to be tailored based upon situations in country. So when you consider what's going on, you have to look at, one, the state of the outbreak or the COVID situation in your country then. Let's say that. Are cases fairly low? Is the healthcare system compromised and at its breaking point? What is the situation as it relates to variants? What are your hospitalizations and deaths looking like? And then you also have to consider things like your vaccination coverage. So remember, and I've said it, and I'm going to say it, probably the most promising approach to curbing the epidemic. Now we know that for vaccine coverage to be effective, you need the majority of the persons to be immune. And that number, scientists agree, it's upward of around 80%. And that is some of the things that one has to consider when you think about, okay, how do we balance this with the other measures that we use that we know work to stop COVID? Now, the public health measures, I'm talking about mask wearing, avoiding crowds where possible, and mitigating your risk. That's what it has to be, because we all know by now what spreads COVID: close contact. If people are not wearing a mask, that is what spreads contact. So we spreads COVID. So we have to think about, how do you mitigate your risk against that? That has to be applied in combination to those factors. And you have to remember that there are more contagious strains that are emerging now. And so what does that mean? It means that we need to continue to encourage persons to know the facts and get vaccinated. We need to try and get as close as possible as we can to that herd immunity number. And that's going to be tremendously helpful. We're not there yet.
Okay, on a point.
So, hold on one sec. Mm-hmm. So it's wise to continue mask mandates and the public health measures given that context. Now, other countries could be in different places, and I think I know what you're talking about when it comes to reducing mask mandates. Maybe they have a higher percentage of people who are vaccinated. But we have seen that there has been some confusion lately with the Delta variant, that masks are being suggested, that maybe you should continue to use masks. I'm going to say this. Masks, it's a relatively easy intervention that has a lot of yield. If you cover your face in public, if other persons do it, because you won't know who's vaccinated and not vaccinated, we know that helps tremendously. Of course, we would want to continue to do so. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. You wanted to say something.
Yeah. Okay. When we see the number of people hospitalized increasing, what would be the takeaway from that? What's happening there? Again, we don't know if it's the Delta variant, but what do you think is accounting for this?
Well, so we always know that when hospitalizations increase, that tells us that there are a number of people that are more sick. And so there are a number of people who also are not as sick and have mild disease or asymptomatic. So that means that there's an uptick of COVID cases generally in the community. So that's what that means. Now, could it be because of the emergence of a more contagious variant? It's fully possible.
Yeah. Before we get to the vaccine, some questions about that. There's a text here, and I'm just going to ask it. Somebody's asking, were the people who are very ill or dying, the people who died, were they obese? How much of a factor does obesity and being overweight play in this? That's a question from one of our listeners.
Right. So, a lot of people that did die had medical comorbidities. A certain percent were obese, but not all were obese. Some had other problems like hypertension, diabetes, kidney disease, for example. They were immunocompromised in other ways. But we can't discard the fact that vaccinated people, and there are fully vaccinated people who do have those other medical conditions, ended up in hospital or died.
Mm-hmm. All right. I think you should say it one more time. You said it earlier, and I see some texters who might not have listened or missed it. You mentioned it. The people who have died, not one of them has been fully vaccinated. That's what you said?
Not at our site. No. And so the point is, vaccination works to protect people from getting hospitalized and dying from COVID-19. And they're also very effective from preventing people from getting COVID. Yes, you can get COVID. It's very, very uncommon. However, if you only have mild symptoms or asymptomatic, then that would be something that is far better than being hospitalized or dying.
Mm-hmm. All right. I want to ask you about the vaccines. We had some issues last week on the show. We were talking about this. Read that the EU is not accepting, considering people who are vaccinated with the vaccine that we're getting from COVAX, not considering that to be not on the same level as AstraZeneca, basically. What are we supposed to make of that? And Is the vaccine that we're getting from COVAX, is that a generic form of the AstraZeneca vaccine? What exactly is the difference there?
It's the same vaccine, basically. It's the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine that also was given. The formula was in a partnership. The formulation of it was shared with the Serum Institute of India to also produce the vaccine.
Is it fair to call it a generic?
I think that it is fair to say that it was manufactured by a different company.
Why do you suppose that the EU is saying they would not accept that as an approved vaccine for entry into their country?
I don't know. I couldn't speak to that from an ID point of view.
When I look at it, the global, the average vaccination rate for the world, I think over the weekend, probably by Friday's date, is about 11%, right? So 11% of the world population has been fully vaccinated, and they're showing that our rate is about 8.5%. And so when I look at that, I think we are doing an okay job. And while there may be vaccination hesitancy in the country, I think the problem, our real problem, and I think we've been saying that for several weeks now, maybe months since we started taking the shot, was that we don't have the availability of the vaccine with which to give all of those who would probably wish to take the vaccine a shot. And, Bahamians, we tend to take our times. We may not jump in immediately, but we watch and different people are taking it. And we say, okay, I'll take it. But I think that's our major challenge and not so much. Yeah, there are a lot of persons who may not want to take it, will never take it. But I think that the major challenge that we have is the lack of supply of vaccine in the country.
Well, no, I don't agree with that. I think that we do have challenges as it relates to vaccine hesitancy and reluctance. And when we look at the way that some countries are getting the COVID vaccine through COVAX, that we know that it will happen in tranches, and that what we're doing and what all countries had to do based on their supply was to prioritize it. And at this time, and rather quickly since March, we've gotten to a point where anyone who wants to have a COVID vaccine that is the age of 18 and above can go in or make an appointment. And there are even walk-in sites, and there are multiple sites throughout the New Providence, and there's vaccine initiatives in the Family Islands so that people can go ahead and avail themselves of the opportunity to get this vaccine. Our vaccine supply coming, and I wouldn't say that it's availability that is contributing to uptake at this time.
So how many persons in the country have been vaccinated? At least one shot?
I saw that it was about on the global COVID tracker. This morning it was almost, was it 80,000? Let me pull up the number for you.
Well, according to the government, as of July 2nd, total doses of vaccine administered, 95,992.
Okay, 95,000 administered in the country.
Total doses. People received one dose at 59,731. People are fully vaccinated with two doses, 36,261. That's as of July 2nd.
And the last we heard, we had about 89,000 we had gotten from between India and COVAX. We had about 89, and then we're waiting for another 33. And I think the report is saying we got 5 from Antigua
and Barbuda.
Yeah. So the numbers aren't adding up. If we had 87 or 89,000 doses, we got 5 from Antigua, Barbuda, then I'm in my calculation, we're out of it. We don't have sufficient.
Well, you have to remember that the population of the Bahamas, the projection is about 400,000 people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so is the expectation that there would, some of those are not age eligible, the adults. And I think if the expectation is that there are 600,000 doses delivered at one time, I think that expectation is probably not realistic. That these vaccine deliveries are going to come in tranches.
Right. I'm trying to get an audit because the last I heard, we had about 89,000 doses. We had received about 89,000 doses within the country, and then we borrowed 5 from Antigua and Barbuda. So when you add that, that's about 94 or so thousand. So I'm asking, do we have additional doses that we don't know where they came from? They haven't accounted for it as yet, because I'm thinking we've used up what we had in country.
Well, we're definitely running lower.
We have to focus on our vaccination plan and to ensure that we have high vaccination coverage to get as close as we can to herd immunity.
How many persons have received the vaccine overseas? How many Bahamians have been vaccinated overseas? Do you have that number?
Yes, we have heard from in the last week or so that there are Bahamians that have received the doses overseas. I think the number that he called was about 5,000, but I can't remember that exact number. But I think, we have to keep our eyes on and our focus on where we have to go. We have to continue to encourage people to get the facts on COVID-19 vaccinations and encourage vaccinations. And it is a journey. We have to continue to try and get there. Yeah. And like I said, there will be additional deliveries of the COVID vaccine. And I really want to encourage people to get that vaccine. It's very helpful to prevent hospitalizations and deaths. And the Delta variant it is more infectious. And so I encourage you to do that, because we know that it can be introduced easily and spread by travel.
Right,
so I think that has to be our focus.
Do we have a few more minutes with you, Dr. Forbes? We need to break for news.
Yes.
Yep, we can pick you up on the other side. Okay, so we'll be in just a bit. A few more questions. We want to talk about mixing vaccines, and if we are doing any research here on our own population as opposed to relying on what we're learning about COVID from outside the country. We're going to get into that after news. Stay with us.
COVID-19. World economies put to a test. This virus brought so much unrest. Folks, they look to the sky for intervention from on high. COVID-19.
This is Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
Welcome back to Morning Blend here on Guardian Radio 96.9. We are streaming live on GuardianTalkRadio.com and on the Guardian Radio app for smart devices. We're also on your televisions on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 and BTC Flow Channel 612. You can tweet us at Morning Blend 969 or Facebook.com/Morning Blend 969. Text us 422-4796. And now, day 23. Time for another check of your weather for today, brought to you by Bahamas First Insurance. Here's what's happening. We've got moisture associated with Tropical Storm Elsa. That's going to affect portions of the northwest Bahamas as Elsa continues to move southwest of the islands today. Beachgoers should exercise caution as a high risk of rip currents at East Coast beaches, and boaters should be alert for possible waterspout activity. So be alert for tornado activity as well. And we're expecting the heat index to be in the triple digits again, so you're being asked to limit outdoor activity and remain hydrated, and there's possibly localized flooding in low-lying or flood-prone areas. For today, for all areas, look for variable cloudiness, breezy and hot conditions, scattered showers, and isolated thunderstorms, mainly across the northwest Bahamas through tonight. Some showers may be heavy and thunderstorms strong to severe at times. Highs getting up to around 90 Fahrenheit, 32 Celsius. Heat index at 105 Fahrenheit, 40 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down to about 75 Fahrenheit, 24 Celsius. In your extended outlook, lingering moisture along with breezy conditions associated with Tropical Storm Elsa will continue to affect portions of the northwestern islands as the storm pulls north of the area through midweek. So for tomorrow, Tuesday, look for mostly cloudy and breezy conditions with scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms. In the northwest Bahamas, partly sunny, breezy, and hot with a chance of isolated showers elsewhere. Wednesday, partly cloudy with a few isolated showers and the chance of thunderstorms in the north. Mostly sunny, breezy, and hot elsewhere. In the tropics, all eyes on Elsa, which is moving near central Cuba moving near 14 miles per hour with maximum sustained winds near 65 miles per hour. We're expecting the latest update very shortly. Bahamas is not in its line of... we are not in the path at this time. No threat to the Bahamas, but again, just could bring some rain to the northern islands as it moves around us over the next few days. That's your morning blend weather check, brought to you by Bahamas First Insurance. What's first for you comes first for us. And we've got another check of traffic for this morning, brought to you by RBC Royal Bank. In your real-time traffic, we're seeing the heavy traffic now on Sir Miles Butler Highway. That's from Fire Trail all the way up to Tawny Williams-Darling Highway, the northbound lanes. Gladstone Road also busy for you this morning, northbound to JFK Drive. And Blue Hill Road is going to be busy. North of Soldier Road, the northbound lanes heading towards that roundabout with Independence Drive. Building traffic on Carmichael eastbound to Blue Hill. And westbound heading out to Coral Harbor Road. That's going to be busy for you this morning as well. On West Bay Street, we're seeing some building traffic eastbound near Saunders Beach as you get to the roundabout with Providence Highway. And the closer you get to Arawak Key and downtown, just east of Nassau Street this morning. Elsewhere, we've got Bernard Road, heavy traffic westbound for you as you head to that intersection, which is also busy, Soldier Road and Wolf Road, yes. And then pockets along Prince Charles Drive at the major intersections, and Marathon Road northbound looking busy for you today. Shirley Street, as you get closer to downtown, you're going to be seeing heavier traffic as well. That's your hot spots for you. That's your real-time traffic and your morning blend traffic alert, brought to you by RBC Royal Bank, banking reimagined.
This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM.
Traveling around the world, infecting men, women, boy, and girl, forcing folks to quarantine. I'm talking about COVID-19. Coronavirus, you're a pest. You've got this world.
And we are back here with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan with Nakia Forbes talking about where we are in the fight against COVID. So we've been hearing this a lot over the past few days about mixing vaccines. I know we only so far have the COVAX supplied AstraZeneca vaccine here, but we've been told that we may see Pfizer this summer. I don't know if you know anything more about that, if you can tell us where things stand with that. But let's talk about that and mixing vaccines and what this could do, and if this is a better scenario, especially if we are lacking one vaccine, and does this improve the efficacy rate?
Hi, good morning again, Dwight. Good morning, Bahamas. So mixing vaccines, scientists are looking at that now to see what the effectiveness of that will be. And there are already places that vaccines are being mixed. And it's a good idea to have more than one vaccine available and several vaccines. And so it is possible, it's allowed for vaccines to be mixed.
Should people hold out if they have received the first dose of AstraZeneca? We're seeing a report that says that one of the highest efficacies can be if you have your first dose as AstraZeneca and perhaps the second as Pfizer, or also the other way around, and that it might even be producing more antibodies or T cells than just 2 doses of AstraZeneca. Should people be holding out for that? Is that something they should do?
So it really depends on your country context. So there are countries that have multiple vaccines available. Some persons have had their first dose of AstraZeneca, maybe their vaccine for various reasons. And like I said, that's allowed, and we're looking to see what the effectiveness would be. But if you're holding out, if you're in a country that only has one kind of vaccine at this time, for example, the Bahamas largely only has AstraZeneca, then you shouldn't hold out waiting for another vaccine, especially in the context of COVID cases continuing. or even increasing. You should take the vaccine that's available to you at the time that you can get it.
Do you know anything more about the Pfizer, whether we are indeed getting that, where things stand with that?
I don't have any updates on when that's expected to arrive or when and if.
All right, so I've been talking about this a bit on the show about research here. Are we doing any research here? Are we following COVID patients, or have we identified anyone? Are we looking at their antibody counts? Are we looking at people who have taken the vaccine and how they're looking with antibodies? Do we have a study group? Anybody is anything like that happening locally, as opposed to just relying on what we're getting from international groups?
Well, we don't have a study that I know of that's looking at antibody levels. Research that's being done as it relates to COVID-19 and vaccinations and vaccine coverage for hospitalizations and other things. And there is a ethics board at the Ministry of Health for COVID-related matters where scientists, physicians, researchers can put forward their research proposal for review.
That's happening here in the Bahamas.
Yes.
All right. So what are we hoping to use that information for? What are we going to do with that?
Well, I've already told you from the research that myself and my physician colleagues, let me call them, Dr. Krista Wells, Dr. Wesley Francis, Dr. Hilary DeVoe, Dr. Gita Wallace, and Dr. Darbiel Hunt Burrows, we already can tell you that since vaccinations rolled out at the site where we primarily work together, the Princess Margaret Hospital, that no one who has been admitted to our unit requiring oxygen and hospitalized or died has been fully vaccinated. And that's the kind of information that we need. We need real information for our context. And it does prove that these vaccines do what they say they do, protect you from getting COVID, hospitalizations, and death.
Mm-hmm. Would an antibody study be helpful at all to know exactly, because people are saying if I got COVID naturally, that I know I'm protected, but are they really, and would that be helpful to know?
Well, before I go and answer that, let me tell you that, you need to have full view. That's a great thing about research. There's also literature review, and you have to have full information about some of the scientific information around antibodies, for one, and what are the expert guidelines about the use of the antibodies before you extrapolate that you should take an antibody test and say, therefore, you don't need to have a COVID vaccine. That's actually not what's recommended scientifically. Mm-hmm. It's not suggested that person should do a serology test, a serological test to find out their antibody levels and say, okay, therefore, I do not need a vaccine. That's not recommended by experts. And so, like I said, vaccination is what's recommended at this time.
Okay.
Now, if you're talking about surveillance studies, that's something different, mm-hmm. where we try to get an estimate in other ways about what percentage of the population may have had COVID. That's a completely different methodology, and you have to have expert information, and it requires some expertise to be able to conduct such a thing. That's what I'll say.
Okay. All right. So we want to go back very briefly to what we asked about the COVAX AstraZeneca vaccine and this issue with the EU and not considering this to be one of the approved vaccines. For Bahamians who are hearing this and who might have been considering going to Europe this summer or next summer, what should they make of this? Is this just a temporary blip on this journey that we're going on, or should this be a matter of concern, and should this be the thing that tips you over to the edge and when you say, oh, I was holding out for a vaccine, a different vaccine, and now I definitely know I should? What would you say to people who are thinking that now?
Well, like I said to you, I can only answer from an infectious diseases science point of view. That's my area of expertise. I can't comment on why the European Union Medicines Agency may or may not have included certain vaccines. But what I will tell you is that if you haven't had a COVID-19 vaccine or a vaccine to protect you against COVID-19, then it's a good idea that you go ahead and do that. Because like I said, these vaccines do protect from hospitalizations and death, effective to prevent getting COVID in the first place. And it's not a good idea to cherry pick or hold out waiting for the vaccine of your choice, especially in light of a COVID still spreading where we live.
Yeah. All right. Dr. Nakia Forbes, thank you very much. Some very interesting things you've said to us today. Again, for folks who might have missed it before the news, you said that the research you all have done, nobody who has died from COVID in this country was fully vaccinated.
At our site, right?
No. All right.
The research
great information. Again, we thank you for the time. Dr. Nakia Forbes, always a pleasure.
You're most welcome.
Thank you.
Always happy to be with you. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Folks, we're going to take a break. When we come back, changing gears completely, we're going to meet the 2021 Bahamas Primary School Student of the Year. She is here. We'll meet her after the break. Stay with us.
Forcing folks to quarantine. I'm talking about COVID-19. Coronavirus, you're a pest. You've got this world in a mess. Like a lethal weapon in the dark, leaving death, destruction in your path. COVID-19,
You invest your home and your community, but are you investing in your financial future? At CFAO, we specialize in investment management, retirement planning, mutual funds, and private wealth management. Our team of experts never stops helping you plan for tomorrow. Because tomorrow begins today. Call us at 502-7010 to see what our financial advisors can do for you. CFAO, growing wealth for future generations.
Enjoy an elevated mobile experience with BTC, giving you
unlimited talk for the best conversations, unlimited data for all your online fun,
and unlimited roaming to stay connected while overseas.
For just $50 per line.
Unlock unlimited mobile talk, data, and roaming when you sign up for BTC Superfast Fiber Internet with speed starting at 100 megabits per second. Enjoy more great savings and value. Upgrade or sign up today. Visit any BTC store or BTCBahamas.com. Conditions apply.
Let's face it, in an increasingly competitive market, your business needs a competitive edge. That means offering your employees the benefits they want. Give them the benefit of retiring their way with the RF Multi-Employer Pension Plan. Choose from some of the best performing investment funds in the market while taking advantage of low administrative costs and professional management. Whether you're a team of 2 or 2,000, our pension specialists can design a plan for you. Contact us at pensions@rfgroup.com to learn more about the RF Multi-Employer Pension Plan. RF, money at work.
Travel less, but vacation more by indulging yourself and your family with the ultimate staycation getaway at Atlantis. Sleep in, relax, play, go out. Say yes to a fantastic staycation in your very own paradise just over the bridge. For reservations, call 363-6483 or visit Atlantis Local on Facebook for details.
Take that mess from off the wall. Give that baby back its ball. Leave other people things alone. There's other ways to get involved. Get involved, don't be no fool, stay in school. Let your mind become a tool. Church were made for fools to be. Locked away from society. Society, get involved, get involved. Get involved, get involved. Get involved, get involved. There's other ways to get involved. Get involved. Let's go.
And we are back here with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan with Pamela Musgrove. And we have a new 2021 Bahamas Primary School Student of the Year. She was named yesterday, and she's in studio with us today. Very pleased to welcome from Windsor School at Albany, Chelsea Smith.
Hello.
Good morning. Congratulations.
Thank you again. Yeah.
And this is very exciting. You've got your mom here, Nikisha Smith, and dad is out there as well, Sean Smith. And we've got, of course, the president and CEO of the Bahamas Primary School Student of the Year Foundation, Ricardo DeVoe. Sir, always a pleasure. Great to have you with us.
It's a pleasure.
Good morning. Good morning, all.
All right, so we have a lot to talk about this morning. Chelsea, how are you feeling?
I'm proud of myself, I guess. I'm excited. I'm just feeling so many emotions. But like I'm grateful for this opportunity that I've been given because this wouldn't have been possible without God. So I just want to thank Him for giving me this opportunity.
Mm-hmm. How did you feel yesterday when they called your name?
Well, I was like really like a lot of suspense, I guess. And then like once they called my names, I started crying and like freaking out.
So were you a part of a finalist group?
Yes.
Okay, so your chances to improve from the overall.
Pretty much, because I think it was top 25, so I already knew I was the top 25.
Right.
And then, from there, like they kept on just building the suspense, and then I didn't hear my name called, and I was like...
Did you at any point during that time thought that I can win this? Did that cross your mind?
I feel like it did subconsciously, but like I didn't really like feel it. I was just prepared for whenever they called my name. I put on my jacket. I was ready to step up.
Yeah, and Mom, how are you feeling? How are you feeling today?
Oh, I'm super proud, Mom, at this moment. She's worked so hard, and just to see all of her accomplishments, culminate with this event. Just putting the portfolio together, we didn't realize, how many things she has been a part of and involved in, and the contribution she's made.
You didn't realize?
You don't realize it when you're doing it.
Yeah.
And then when we start to gather the information, because they asking from, a lot of content, a lot of information from grade 3 to grade 6.
Mm-hmm.
And as you start to go back and look through albums and photos, and you're like, wow, this is my job.
Oh, man, that's impressive.
So help parents out there. We have issues in our country, social issues in our country. Help parents out there to understand, how do you take a child like Kelsey to be where she is today in such a short period of time? How does she get where she's at?
Most certainly is an environment in your community. I have 3 kids, and my oldest, I must say, he led the way. He was the example for his younger siblings, Akil. And so a lot of what he did, Chelsea sort of followed along in his footsteps. And as parents, we just encouraged and supported whatever it was that they wanted to get involved in, recognizing where their strengths and talents were, and just continuing to fuel that and invest in that. I think that's very important.
And I think that's very important. Someone told me one time before, like, once you encourage and support your children, and it doesn't matter, you could be at Windsor or Richland Primary School. If those kids have... my primary school too.
Oh, wow.
No matter where you are, once you support and encourage your kids, there's no telling what they can achieve in life.
Excellent
So
stuff.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Yep, so we'll talk more with Chelsea and Nikisha Smith in a bit. So Ricardo, tell us about this though. What set Chelsea apart from this wonderful group? This is a very talented group as always.
First of all, good morning. The Student of the Year, this year we had 100 of the best and brightest representing 14 of the islands. And this was in a pandemic year.
Yep.
And so these students were already challenged that way. But despite the challenges, I think we have an independent panel who review all of the portfolios, and they're looking for something that sets that one child up or away from everyone else. Because reality, I think about 60% of them have grade point averages of 3.7 and above.
My goodness.
So you're already talking about the best of the best. Each one of them, when they had their respective graduations at their school, they were the valedictorian or salutatorian of their school. So you can imagine the person who is number one and the person who further right, they have the same set of qualities, they're involved, but the judges are always looking for something that sets persons out. And I think one of the things that, and I think you need to ask, because I don't quite understand, but Chelsea she's doing some coding.
Wow.
She has, I think, one of the things that impressed the judges is that I think she established a foundation. Nonprofit, and she is also assisting other young people with coding. And I think that was very impressive to the judging.
Well, that's impressive to everybody.
And because when it was, so I heard because when they judge, the judges are in their space by themselves, but we depend on making sure if everything's okay. And I heard, you usually hear the talk, and so the judges were talking about this student and what she's doing and this coding, and some I guess knew what it meant. But like me, I was trying to find what is that all about,
So Chelsea, is it all books and study and no play?
Well, not at all, I would say. You definitely have to have a good mix of, sometimes I'm going to go ahead and read a bunch of books and study, but you also have to have, put in the time to socialize with friends and talk and play games and do stuff like that.
This child is involved in a triathlons.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So she's being modest.
I heard that athletic sport is very good to help kids build discipline, and they encourage you to get your kids involved in some kind of sporting activity.
Because once, she had submitted her portfolio, and after the parents and become like a family to the foundation, and they hear the parents talk, and I heard Chelsea's parents talk about how on Sunday mornings she's doing these triathlons, and she's swimming, she's cycling, she's running.
Water polo.
I mean, I'm like, do you need a whole, I think parents have a whole nother job. They just you're not just parenting, but you have to be the coach, you have to be, you're the driver, everything.
So I want to hear more about the coding. How did you get into that, and tell us more about it?
Well, I originally got into coding, again, as my mother mentioned, through my older brother Akil, because he had originally gotten into doing stuff like that. And then I think it was the summer, when the pandemic sort of hit, that summer, that March, he had introduced us to, I can't remember the exact name of the program, but he had introduced us to coding. And it was just a simple, easy, basic things to learn how to code. And I just found that really interesting. And from there on, me and my brother started finding other little sites that we could go on to learn coding. And we sort of taught ourselves different coding languages. So over the course of that summer, I learned about 7 different coding languages. I'm not fluent in all of them, but I do understand a little bit here and there.
So how do you use it? Give us the applications.
Well, coding, you can use it in multiple different ways because there's different types of coding languages and different programs and softwares you can use it in. There's JavaScript, which you usually use in coding for, and then there's Lua, which you usually use for coding for Roblox. And I would say those are my 2 favorites that I probably would use most often.
Wow.
Because I play games more like Roblox and Minecraft than anything else. So I definitely use those ones the most. So how it sort of works is it's we have to download this folder, and the folder sort of gives us access to all the apps and websites that we're going to be needing to use for the course. And then we would follow along with these tutorial videos, and we would just go along step by step with what it was telling us. And then if we had any problems, we would have to try and troubleshoot it and go back to the video. Because one thing that can be really annoying about coding is if you miss one dot, add too many spaces, do the smallest thing, the code won't run. You have to go all the way back and
try to figure out where,
Wow. And so you have a nonprofit, I heard you say that?
Yes.
Tell us about that. What is that all about?
Called Kids Code 242, and it's a nonprofit that me and my family started. It's helping kids around the Bahamas learn how to code. Because we believe that coding and technology is the future.
So how many kids are in the program now?
Well, we've had over, I think, 100 kids sign up.
Cool.
And we usually have Saturday classes, like about every Saturday since January.
And what ages are the kids?
I believe it's like 4 to 17, I want to say.
Wow.
So is this your future? You're going to get into this? Is that what you're thinking?
Well, I do love coding, and I sort of, when I get older, I want to incorporate that to what I end up doing. But I also love helping people, and I really want to be a doctor, specifically a pediatrician when I grow up. But then I don't want to sort of leave the coding stuff behind. So I want to be a pediatrician, yet still, because I like engineering and STEM and all that kind of stuff. So I want to be a pediatrician, and then also I want to engineer devices and stuff to help doctors and make their jobs easier.
Wow.
What role has your school played in developing you?
I think my school has played a big role for sure in developing me, because they taught me to strive for excellence and keep on going. And I feel like a lot of the things that I'm doing now, like the school has really just made it easier for me to accomplish a lot of the things that I've done. So yeah, shout out to Windsor. I wouldn't be here without them.
This is the first time Windsor has won?
Yeah, it's the first time. Actually, Windsor was first runner-up. So this year they actually.
Yeah. Wow. All right, now you mentioned that this is a pandemic year. There's so many people who this year was so rough they didn't even want to go back to school. So what do you say to students like that who what is this? What is the point of all of this?
Well, I feel like a lot of students are sort of confused or nervous because they don't know really what's happening. And I feel like especially at the beginning of this whole pandemic thing, that first weekend when they said school was closed and everyone was trying to figure out how it's gonna work and do we have to use Zoom and download Google Classroom and all of that was sort of really scary and confusing at that point. But I feel like over the last year we've adjusted to it, and now it's a lot easier and we sort of understand what we're supposed to be doing and where we're supposed to be going. But I feel like Windsor has definitely made that process in switching from in-person school to online school and sort of doing a hybrid learning a lot easier.
Ricardo, you look good.
Well, I just wanted to say how everyone, this was one of the difficult, but last year was really difficult in planning the student of the year because we were actually, the day before our ceremony, we were placed on lockdown. So we had to have a totally virtual program last year where we invited the top 5. This year, we're still in the pandemic, and so what we did was we told all the parents, because today is actually the Student of the Year drive-by, so parents will come to pick up their trophies and their students will take their pictures and stuff. So all parents were advised that this was the process. So Chelsea found out yesterday morning that she was attending the ceremony. We told the parents on Saturday morning that their children were one of the children selected. So of course, the ceremony was live, virtual, and so parents were told, the children were all to be at the ceremony, on Monday for the drive-by. So of course you could imagine parents were sworn to secrecy that they could not tell, not even their children in the top.
How was that?
And they were advised to tell their children not until Sunday morning.
That would have been easy because you're so excited. That would have been kind of easy, right?
I don't know how it was for them, but yeah, they were advised Saturday morning that their child was in the top. It was as a ranked finalist, but they could not tell no friends, no. And
wow.
Some persons had cousins in the competition, so they were not to advise even their cousins.
Oh, wow.
Wow. I actually did have a cousin in the competition.
Really?
Yeah.
Logan Stubbs, I believe.
Yeah,
she was third runner-up.
Oh boy.
Yes, we have 2 sets of cousins. The first runner-up, Grayson Roberts from Queens College. His cousin was Wes Underwood from Spanish as well,
Oh,
Samuel
wow.
Guy, and he was ninth runner-up.
Wow.
So it was like
Awesome.
two sets of cousins in the who was there that day,
Yeah.
and they were not to be advised.
So were there any clues, Chelsea? Any hints?
I mean, like, I felt like something was going on, but like I couldn't put my finger on it.
Yeah.
They were,
But she
like,
knew
suspicious.
She knew July 4th was the announcement day. She just didn't know what was gonna happen.
Right,
Right,
yeah.
right.
I thought it was gonna be online. I didn't think you were gonna be going anywhere. So yeah, that was definitely a surprise.
Yeah. So were you looking forward to today? The
I
draft?
was, but like I was really nervous because then again, the entire system is like nerve wracking because like you want to hear your name called, but then you don't want to hear your name called, and there's just so much suspense.
Correct.
So what would you say to younger students who are looking at this, who are saying, "Yeah, I want to be primary school student of the year in grade 6 when I get there"? What advice would you give them?
To always try your best and never give up, and just strive for excellence, because like one of my favorite sayings is, you'll never find the word success before the word work unless it's in the dictionary. So
that's pretty good.
yeah, just work hard and you'll achieve your goals.
Yeah. Wow. And mom, and what do you say to parents out there who are looking at this for next year or beyond?
Certainly, pay attention to the gifts and talents of your kids and recognize those very early on and just fuel and invest and support them. And they'll make you proud.
Yeah. And Ricardo, again, this is a second challenging year for you. We're hoping.
But guess what? I want to thank the public out there because this year we had 100 nominees, and every single nominee was a winner. Every single child received a scholarship, a minimum of $1,000.
Great. That's awesome.
106 in the pandemic year, we were able to offer $162,500 in scholarships, and every child got the top 21 children got laptops or tablets.
Wow.
Every child we were so the book that I here will present to you is called Kids Journal Through COVID-19. A U.S. company was on Facebook and saw us talking about the Student of the Year, and they wanted to give a donation, and they have donated 100 books for every one of the nominees.
Wow.
In addition to this, they are now trying to get this book into our schools.
That'd be
so they
great.
want to.
That would be
so
great.
They have, and it's actually kids writing about their experience through COVID, and so every one of the nominees got a book.
Amazing.
And Dwight, I want to present you.
Thank you very much.
Present you with
Thank you
one.
very much. Appreciate that. Wow. So what's next? So you're hoping next year will be a better year, that you won't have these
I definitely,
challenges.
I definitely hope so, because we definitely would like. I mean, I felt bad that only the top 25 students were able to be at the ceremony because we were in a pandemic, and although we had a big hall, we couldn't, with COVID restrictions, we just couldn't. And so that's why we have today the drive-by, so parents could bring their child, get out the car, take a picture, and keep on moving. And so that is a lot. I mean, for us, that's 2 days of events that we had to plan just because of COVID. When we would have had one ceremony, it would have been over. But today, my team is back at work to make sure that every other child in this environment.
But the program is obviously well received in the community with the level of sponsorship that you have received, and you to be commended for even bringing this program to the fore and impacting so many students' lives.
Yes, you still every year is still a pandemic, not able to produce this amazing book here, and 25 years, 25th annual. This is pretty impressive, and we thank you, Ricardo, for the great work that you and the whole foundation's been doing over all these years. All right, so Chelsea, you've got the final word here. What's next for you for the summer? Do you get a break? You take time off from all these activities?
My schedule's always packed and busy. But like I feel like throughout the rest of the week, if there's not too much things to do, I should be able to sort of relax and really process what's happening.
Once. Right.
But yeah, I do have a pretty packed summer because I'm planning on continuing training for the triathlon Carifta, which is going to be around August, September, around that time. And then after that, I believe it is, I have a water polo tournament in Texas with the Mantis Bahamas team. Shout out to them. And yeah, so I'm going to be doing the Mantas summer camp next week to help me stay fit and stay in good shape for that event.
And then going to grade 7 in September. Still going to be at Windsor.
Yes,
Yep.
I will.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's wonderful stuff. We are looking for some great things from you, more great things from you. And again, congratulations. Very proud of you.
Thank you so
Proud
much.
of you, Mom.
Thank you, thank
Keisha
you.
Smith and Hannah. Oh boy.
And Dad is here too.
And
He's
Dad
just
is
not-
out there. Nikisha. I'm mixing up everybody's names today. Nikisha Smith and Sean Smith.
Congratulations.
Thank you all
Congratulations.
for being here with us this morning. Appreciate it. All right. And Ricardo, again, thank you very much.
Thank you very
All right.
much. And for Laona to be the first, your first out of the gate. She's the first person to interview her.
Yes, we appreciate that so much.
Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you all. All right. We're going to take a break and be back with Morning Blend Business, talking about the crisis at the Humane Society. You want to stay tuned for that. That's coming up in just a bit.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. It's the start of a new way. You know that it's the start of the end of the old way. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
This is Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Good morning and welcome to Morning Blend Business on this Monday, July 5th, 2021. Welcome back to our Morning Blend listeners. Once again, Dwight Strachan along with Pamela Musgrove today. And this morning we are talking about the crisis at the Bahamas Humane Society. We've had them on over the past few months to tell us about how things have been getting more challenging, but it has at perhaps a breaking point. Kim Arana is here now and will tell us more about that. Kim, welcome back. Great to have you with us.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting us. Thank you.
Good morning.
Seeing you were telling us about this, I think during the start of the pandemic, you noticed it. People were turning in their pets because they were not working and didn't have the money to feed them. People were coming forward, but things have gotten worse since then.
Yeah, actually, Dwight, it's really crazy. In all the other countries in the world during the pandemic, lots and lots of people were adopting to the point that they were running out of puppies, dogs, kittens, and cats in shelters all over America and Canada and England because people were stuck at home and they wanted companions. Here, the complete and utter opposite happened.
Wow.
And everybody just started handing in their pets in dozens, literally every day. We do have a food bank that people can come to us and receive food to feed their animals. So every time somebody would bring us a pet that they didn't want, we would tell them that we could provide the food for the animal. Obviously emergency medical care. And even so, many people just did not want their animals anymore.
Wow.
It's a phenomena that I don't fully understand, but it has certainly put the Humane Society in a very difficult position.
And that's what they're telling you. They're telling you it's because I can't afford this anymore. I can't afford to feed the pet. I can't afford to take care of it. That's the main reason.
No, because you'd say to them, well, here we are. We'll give you the food every week. Every month you can come to us and pick up the food. And if there's any emergency medicals, we'll do that too. And they still know we just don't want it anymore.
So what do you suppose the reason for that is?
Well, one of the reasons, and maybe I'm being a little cynical here, is that when people were out every day, a lot of people don't, let me rephrase this, a lot of people don't necessarily look at their pet as a part of the family. They are, useful because they bark if there are intruders, but they're not friends that join in the family life. So perhaps if you go to work every day and you leave Fido in the yard at 8 in the morning and you don't see Fido again until 6 in the evening, and you put down his food and Fido's running around the garden, you don't have to deal with him barking all day or, whatever, or the dog coming to the door because he wants to interact with you. Maybe some people found it a little taxing to have an animal that wanted to interact with them all the time.
Well, maybe that's why the Bahamas, because people tend to generally have their pet as a part of their family. I mean, so maybe that's why the reverse of what's happening overseas is happening in the Bahamas.
I mean, perhaps the thing is, when people want to give them up, they want to give them up, and it's very, you can't force somebody to keep their animal.
Yeah.
But we have got to the point of basically exploding at the seams. We have moved over 1,000 animals out of the country to airlifts. And no sooner do we get 200 animals out, within a week, we are full again.
My goodness.
I feel that perhaps in some ways, people trust us so much more now, and they are far more aware of us than they were, maybe 10 years ago. And they realize that there is an option to getting rid of their unwanted pet. But this is going to go on and on and on until we can get people to understand the importance of sparing their animals.
Want to get to that in a bit, but give us some numbers of how many dogs, how many cats do you have right now, and what should be the optimum number, the optimal number
about
for
600, and the optimum number would be about 200.
Oh my goodness.
And the thing is, we can send 250 out today, and by Saturday we're going to be full again.
So where do you send the pets?
Canada in particular, they can't get enough pot cakes. I mean, they love them. And when these pot cakes get up there, the adoption centers charge quite a lot for them, and there are waiting lists. But it's an expensive undertaking. The planes don't do it for free. I mean, people donate. Some of it's paid for by the people in Canada and generous people who donate. But those dogs land, and the future owners are waiting in a line in cars at the airport to pick up their predestined dog. They don't even go into a shelter. They go straight from the airplane into a home.
So what percentage of the overall pets are pot cakes?
That we send up?
Mm-hmm.
100%.
Oh, okay.
We don't get, let's get this straight. Very few people give up a breed dog in the Bahamas, okay? The pot cake is not valued as he should be. Perhaps his name does him a disservice because people think that it's food that they wouldn't eat themselves, so they give it to the dog. So perhaps that name, pot cake, makes them appear lowly. Perhaps it's because many of the pot cakes on the street look terrible because they're not cared for, and they're mangy or they're skinny or they're dejected. When you take those dogs, and I wish I could put pictures up, and you care for them for 4 to 6 weeks, and they put on 15 pounds and their fur grows back and that, they are absolutely beautiful animals.
Wonderful. Wonderful personalities as well.
Excuse me?
Wonderful personalities as well.
They have incredible personalities, and they are amazing guard dogs, actually. They very protective. They hear the slightest sound. I mean, I don't need a doorbell. My dogs start barking before the car pulls up to a stop. It's not a question of somebody opening the door or opening the car door or coming to our front door. By the time they're at the front door, 5 yelling their heads off.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's annoying, and you say, "Oh, for heaven's sake, shut up!" And I say to my family, "Wait a minute, if that was a burglar, you'd be very grateful that they're making all that noise."
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't have it both ways.
So we know
Go on.
Yeah, you mentioned it a few minutes ago. So you're getting puppies delivered, boxes of puppies, and we know there was a couple of stories in the media a few weeks ago about this, and people are bringing in the puppies as soon as they are born, which is very, very unhealthy. Let's talk about that and how dangerous that is.
Yeah, I mean, if you just stop and think, animals, we are animals. Human is actually an animal. We don't rip the baby away from the mother at 1 day old. The baby needs to be with the mother. It needs her milk. It needs to be nurtured by the mother. Baby dogs don't open their eyes for about the first 2 weeks, whereas a human has his eyes open right away. And people, I think they actually think they're doing the right thing, but they're doing the wrong thing in so many different ways. They're denying the mother the bonding with her baby that she needs psychologically. And don't laugh. Animals have psychological functions as well. That's not something that is particular only to humans. So by taking the puppies away, you create all sorts of problems. You create a very, very dejected mother who could become aggressive because she's so unhappy.
Very
Her
distressed.
body won't function properly because she needs the puppies feeding from her for all the natural body. And it is almost impossible to keep a litter of puppies alive that have been taken from the mother at 1 day old.
Yeah, and we've heard all these horror stories about what happens to them. There's little
And
that you can do
if
for them.
If the owners don't want the puppies and they are, she is their dog, then just let her keep them for 6 weeks and then separate the mother. Now, if you really have to, and I mean really have to, then bring the mother in with the puppies. But that isn't ideal. Shelters are not an ideal place for a mother dog to bring up her puppies. It's much, much better for them to be, wherever they are, in a yard or in a shelter. There's diseases in shelters. Hundreds of dogs come in every day, and they have to be vet checked, and they may have something wrong with them, and then they have to be put into quarantine. You wouldn't bring a 1 day old baby and drop them in the lobby of a walk-in clinic and say bye, because you'd realize that you would be subjected to the risk of disease and to having to be bottle fed regularly and have none of the nurturing from its mother. You have to treat animals the same way.
Do you think generally that these potcake dogs need to be fenced? Because a lot of them are stray, and so when they're stray, they have lots of, little puppies, but nobody really monitoring them.
If you own a dog, you should keep it on your property. I mean, that's pet ownership 101. If I own a dog, they're my dog. Why should anybody else be bothered by them? You hear people complaining the neighbor's dog knocks over the garbage. Well, the neighbor's dog should be restrained on the neighbor's property with a proper fence. And when I say a proper fence, that means that when you drive your car out in the morning, you have to close the gate again. Even if it's raining, you have to get out of the car and close the gate. And the dog has to remain on your property, not chained. That is not a solution either.
So do you Do we have
Yeah.
a system in country where persons see stray dogs, they will take them in?
What do you mean? Take them into the shelter or
Yeah.
take them into their homes?
Take them into the shelter.
A few people do that. Mostly they phone up and complain that there's a stray dog. The Bahamas Humane Society isn't really in the business of being a dog catcher. It should be done by the pound, but the pound doesn't have any vehicles that are functioning at the moment. So we do that, and then we try to rehabilitate that dog. As long as it's not seriously sick, we will feed it and medicate it and then probably put it on a plane and fly it to Canada, where somebody will pay $700 for it and consider it the most wonderful dog they've ever seen in their lives.
My goodness.
It is really a weird situation.
Yeah, awful. All right, so we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the spay and neuter issue, and I want you to tell me if it's just my imagination or are we seeing more strays today than we were maybe a couple of years ago. We have another challenge, another problem brewing here, and we want to find out how much this is impacting what you are able to do at the Humane Society. We're going to get into that with Kim Arana after the break. This is Morning Blend Business on Guardian Radio 96.9. Stay with us.
Love me, they only know me when they need me.
Girl, Junior just showed me Bella.
Of that good for nothing boy?
Shh, you don't want Bella hair. You say that. You know she always say that's my good child.
So what he doing in Junior phone?
Oh, he there because the police looking for him. He on their wanted list.
Wanted persons in your phone now?
Yes, child. And when police want to find anybody quick, after something happen, they can send pictures direct to your phone. Go to Google Play or App Store and search for Crack Crime Bahamas. Then pick install and it will go straight to your phone.
There is also a section on missing persons?
Yes, girl. Everybody needs to get this app so police can tell us right away when these people go missing. Just like an alert system.
Yes, it has numbers for Crime Stoppers Bahamas, so you can call and nobody knows it's you. Call directly to Miami and give the information without giving your name or anything about you. I tried it the other day, and when I hear Junior and his boys talking about where they hide those guns, I walk quick round the corner and call that number.
Call 328-8477 from Nassau or 242-300-8477 from the Family Islands.
You invest in your children, your home, and your community. But are you investing in your financial future? At CFAL, we specialize in investment management, retirement planning, mutual funds, and private wealth management. Our team of experts never stops helping you plan for tomorrow. Tomorrow begins today. Call us at 502-7010 to see what our financial advisors can do for you. CFAL, growing wealth for future generations.
Beulah, gal, can you believe this? We are now the patrol queens of the neighborhood.
We now large and in charge. So we need to check out what's going on in everybody's yard. What about that gun that we know that Junior and his homeboys just ran out? Can we report that too?
Of course we can.
But we could be in deep trouble if they find out.
We need to report what we see, Beulah. When you call Crime Stoppers, they just answer your call in Miami.
So then we can report everything? Guns, where they hiding the drugs, who shoot who part of which gang, or who disturbing the peace with the loud music and the motorcycles.
Then our neighborhood will be the best in the Bahamas, and everybody gonna want to come live here. And then our house price will go up, gal.
So what we waiting on? What's the number?
If you see something, say something. Let us all pitch in and stop the crime before it's your time. Call 328-8477 from Nassau or 242-300-8477 from the Family Islands. Or text us through the Crack Crime Bahamas app. Stop the crime before it's your time.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
It's time for your morning business report brought to you by CFAL. As more cruise companies prepare to sail from the U.S. ports into the Bahamas this summer, the government has relaxed the travel visa requirement for passengers on board cruise ships originating from outside the country. Minister of Tourism and Aviation Dina Sudi Aguilar says those cruise passengers who travel to the Bahamas for home port cruises, however, are still required to follow all travel, health, visa protocols. He added that even though those cruise passengers out of Florida are required to be fully vaccinated or present a negative RT-PCR test on the first day of embarkation, the government has liaised with the cruise companies and local health officials to develop protocols in the event there is a confirmed case of COVID-19 on board. You can read in today's Guardian business section. The Bryland Marina, part of the Bryland Club project in Harbor Island, officially opened with the developers, 4M Harbor Island Limited, investing $70.5 million so far in the project. That opening was on Friday. During the official opening ceremony, Prime Minister Dr. Jimenez said the developers intend to spend $100 million on the first phase of the project, which includes the basic marina structure, floating docks, the hardscape and landscape of the marina, 4 residential units, underground utilities, and a power plant. Developers are pushing to open the resort and commence phase 2 of the project before the end of the year. Small and medium-sized enterprises can now take advantage of the customs concessions touted by the Prime Minister in May, as they have been added to government's mygateway.gov.bs platform, along with several other services. Prime Minister Minnis saying during his speech that opened the 2021-2022 budget debate that concessions were created to ensure SMEs can get the same kind of help investors enjoy. Other services recently included on the government's platform include affordable homes exemption that allows duty-free importation and local purchases of selected items for first-time homeowners with government-serviced lots, the Family Island Development Encouragement Act exemption, which allows select some family islands duty-free and value-added tax importation of selected items, and the Special Economic Recovery Zone exemption for Grand Bahama and Abaco. And both Royal Caribbean International and Carnival Cruise Lines restarted sailing from U.S. ports over the weekend, with ships destined for their private islands in the Bahamas and at least one cruise calling on Nassau. Royal Caribbean's Freedom of the Seas is the company's first ship to sail from a U.S. port in 16 months and left from Miami's cruise port yesterday. Freedom of the Seas will visit the company's private island Perfect Day at Coco Key and Nassau on 3- and 4-night voyages. Carnival, which has been barred from sailing which had been for the same 16-month period, sailed its Carnival Horizon out of Miami's port yesterday, destined for its Bahamas Half Moon Key and the Dominican Republic. Overseas, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson expected to unveil plans today to scrap mandatory mask wearing and social distancing in England in 2 weeks' time, despite surging coronavirus infections driven by the highly contagious Delta variant. Johnson says he would set out how the country would learn to live with the virus, a major shift in tone from a leader who has previously painted COVID-19 as an enemy to be vanquished. Before a televised news conference on Monday afternoon, Johnson signaled that mandatory measures would be replaced by personal choice after July 19th, the date dubbed Freedom Day by Britain's populist press. Public health officials and scientists have urged caution, though, saying ditching masks and social distancing altogether could be dangerous. One psychologist, a member of the government scientific advisory committee, says proportionate mitigations against the spread of the virus should stay in place. In your Market Watch, recapping trading on the BISX. From Friday, your market movers, AML Foods Limited, moving 1,000 shares, closing at $6 unchanged. Commonwealth Bank, 26 cents, closing at $2.48. Commonwealth Brewery, moving 1,220, up 25 cents to $4.75. J.S. Johnson, moving 600, unchanged at $15.50. Consolidated Water, unchanged at $2.37. Emira Incorporated, moving 456 shares, down 3 cents, closing at $11.27. The BISX All Share Index closing at 1,939.80, down with 111,376 shares crossing the exchange with 23 trades, accumulating a value of $249,832. The BISX All-Share Index lost 34.09 points, or 1.727%. Year to date, the index is down 152.56 points, or 7.291%. The week's volume and value leader, Kalina Holdings, preference A, moving 77,000 shares in one trade with a value of $77,000. That's your Market Watch. And that is your morning business report brought to you by CFAL, Growing Generations. And tune in tonight for CFAL Talks right here on Guardian Radio 96.9 at 6:30 p.m.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
They call me Pop Cake. I'm in a poor state, yet I stay on guard. I protect their yard. They hardly feed me. Sometimes I'm so thirsty. They say I ain't got no pedigree. They don't love me. They only know me when they need me. They don't love me. They only know me. They tie me out in the burning sun. If I'm lucky, I break away and run.
We are back here with Morning Blend Business on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan along with Pamela Musgrove. We are talking with Kim Arana with the Bahamas Humane Society. And so we're going to talk about how this is affecting business, how it's affecting how you do things at the Humane Society in just a bit. But is it just me, Kim, or are you seeing more strays recently? I know there's been a lot done over the last few years, and you'd seen a reduction. Definitely, it was like before the country was overrun by dogs everywhere. But it seemed for a while that we got a handle on it for a bit, but the numbers seem to be increasing. Is it just me?
Well, we did have a handle on it. We had an enormous thing called Operation Potcake,
right,
where we brought in a lot of volunteer vets and vet techs and volunteers for a 10-day period, and we spayed and neutered over 2,000 dogs. And, you know, each dog can have its first, or each female can have her first litter of puppies at approximately 6 months old. And if she has 6 to 10 puppies, 6 months later, the females from that litter can start producing their own puppies. So the pyramid effect is originally the idea was to do these Operation Potcakes every year. And I think if we'd been able to pull it off and do it over a 5-year period, we would not have a stray dog problem in the Bahamas. But for many different reasons, it didn't work. And we've now been doing the best we can do, which are still spay and neuter clinics, and BARC, which is a sister organization. They dedicate themselves entirely to spay and neuters. And it is helping, because it would be way worse if we didn't have these organizations doing what they are doing. But unfortunately, the money it costs and the manpower is just not available in this tiny country. I mean, we at the Humane Society have been running a spay and neuter clinic every second Sunday. And we have been able to spay 500 or spay or neuter 530 animals in the last 6 weeks. We're going to start again doing the spay and neuter programs in September. And it costs $4,000 to sponsor a Sunday. Now, we've been fortunate in the summer season. Rotary of East Nassau sponsored one. BWA and Perina sponsored one. Odyssey sponsored one. And then there were many individuals who sponsored. But we cannot afford to do this on our own. And it's a great opportunity for corporate sponsorship to get involved. And so far they have, and I'm hoping that people listening to this radio show would like to reach out and want to sponsor the fall sessions, because that is the key to resolving the stray problem in the Bahamas. There is no other solution. You will have people who rather disgustingly think that putting poison out is going to solve the problem. It's not going to solve the problem.
Wow.
The only way to solve the problem is spay and neuter all the animals that are out there. And the street animals can be spayed and neutered. They can go back. Some of them are community dogs, and then people get very upset if you pick them up and take them away. But we only want to fix them, then they can come back. They can live happily in the community. You can put out your pot cake pans for them, but they won't be having unwanted puppies. And right now, this is the biggest challenge, is to get people to spay and neuter willingly. And the thing is, there are so many different ways to get it done for free. It doesn't have to cost people a lot of money. But there are a lot of people out there who have the funds who still don't want to spay or neuter their animals.
I've heard some weird stories. I mean, people who will spay the female dog, but don't want to neuter the male dogs, or feel that the dogs should all at least be able to reproduce at least one time. How much are those mentalities causing the problem to get worse?
Hugely. And the funny thing is that this mentality of where they're equating a dog, oh, the boy's got to be able to have his fun, or the mother has to have a chance to experience motherhood once. These are the same people who are not giving consideration to the other personality traits of their pet. It's a sort of ego extension. Dogs do not need to have the experience of motherhood. A 6-month-old puppy is way too young to have dogs anyway, to have motherhood. They are perfectly happy when they are fixed. Male dogs, I have 4 fixed, neutered dogs in my house. They are just as protective. And in fact, they're just a little bit nicer to me. They're a little bit more attached to their owners, and they are more protective. But how to get, we have that challenge on what some people think the vaccine is going to do to them. And
they're living out their lives to their puppies, their animals.
So this is the same sort of problem that we have, is that we need a national spay and neuter program. We need something that is ongoing on every island, because let me tell you, it's not just New Providence. It's to come from the private sector and the public sector and the individuals and corporate. It's something that we all have to come together and make it work. Owners have to learn that if you own a dog, you need to have a fenced-in yard. I hate this expression in the Bahamas of a house dog and a yard dog, because there's absolutely no reason why a popcake can't live in the house. He's probably better than some of these little tiny dogs that chew everything. Just because you weigh over 20 pounds doesn't mean you're a yard dog. Dogs are dogs, and they all can learn to live in the house and be a part of the family.
And they won't make as much noise inside as those little dogs.
No, little dogs yap a lot.
Too much.
But, all dogs are dogs. It's just, is a human being who's 5 foot tall any different from a human who's 6'6"? No, people are people.
I think a lot of that will come with education, because what you are saying, that's different from a lot of the beliefs of people who own pot cakes.
Tell me about it.
I grew up seeing dogs own dogs, and they never had a fenced-in yard, but it was their dog.
Yep.
And they owned it. Is there any laws against mixed breeding? Because I know a lot of people mixed breed. I think the pot cake with the pit bull or stuff like that.
No, there are no laws. I mean, there are breed-specific laws in the Bahamas that say that you can't bring in pit bulls or Neapolitan Mastiffs or Cane Corsos or I'm not a fan of breed-specific laws because I think that what it does do is it encourages people to interbreed or mix their pot cake with their pit bull. But pit bulls are actually pretty nice dogs. They get a very bad rap, and the aggressive pit bull invariably is being trained to be aggressive. I have friends who have pit bulls who are sweet dogs. But if you also interbreeding is very dangerous because, as we know, it doesn't work with humans. And we're back to the same thing. If something doesn't work with humans, it really isn't going to work with dogs or any other animal. Animals should not, the mother dog should not breed with her grandchild dog. It's going to produce dogs with genetic disorders, mental and physical. Whether it's heart, whether it's dysplasia, whether it's aggression, whether it's eyesight, whether it's hearing, that is just the same as humans. So what we do by having breed-specific import rules is now there's a lot of pit bulls that are in the pit bull community, but you really need new blood to come in there to keep the strains healthy. And that's not happening.
Yeah. Wow.
So I'm not a fan of breed-specific. I'm a fan of responsible animal ownership.
All right, so we're going to take our final break. When we come back, we're going to find out about how this is affecting your bottom line and what needs to happen, what we can do to help the Humane Society, and how you plan on tackling this issue, this overcrowding at the shelter. This is Morning Blend Business on Guardian Radio. Stay with us.
They call me Pop-Cake. I'm in a poor state, yet I stay on guard. I protect their yard, they hardly feed me. Sometimes I'm so thirsty. They say I ain't got no pedigree. They don't love me, they only know me when they need me. They don't love me, they only know me when they need me.
You invest in your children, your home, and your community. But are you investing in your financial future? At CFAL, we specialize in investment management, retirement planning, mutual funds, and private wealth management. Our team of experts never stops helping you plan for tomorrow. Because tomorrow begins today. Call us at 502-7010 to see what our financial advisors can do for you. CFAL, growing wealth for future generations.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
Got your final look at weather for this morning, brought to you in part by Cash and Go. Here's what's happening. We've got moisture associated with Tropical Storm Elsa is going to affect portions of the northwest Bahamas as it continues to pass southwest of the islands. Got several warnings. Beachgoers being advised to be alert as there's a high risk of rip currents at east and south coast beaches. Boaters should be alert, boaters and residents, for water spouts or tornado activity. Expect localized flooding in low-lying or flood-prone areas during heavy and prolonged rainfall events. And everybody's being advised to limit outdoor activity and remain hydrated due to high heat indices. For all areas today, we're looking at variably cloudy, breezy, and hot conditions with scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms, mainly across the northwest Bahamas through tonight. Some showers may be heavy and thunderstorms strong to severe at times. Temperature-wise today, look for highs getting up to around 90 Fahrenheit or 32 Celsius. The heat index, again, a factor, triple digits, 105 Fahrenheit, 40 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down to around 75. Your extended outlook, lingering moisture, along with breezy conditions associated with Tropical Storm Elsa, will continue to affect portions of the northwest Bahamas as the storm pulls north of the area through midweek. So for tomorrow, Tuesday, we're expecting mostly cloudy and breezy conditions with scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms in the northwestern islands. Partly sunny, breezy, and hot with a chance of isolated showers elsewhere. Wednesday, partly cloudy with a few isolated showers and a chance of thunderstorms in the northwest Bahamas. Mostly sunny, breezy, and hot elsewhere. In the tropics, all eyes on Elsa, which is near the central part of Havana, southeast of Havana, near the central part of Cuba, and expected to move over Cuba today before heading out into the Gulf near the Florida Keys, and could be an issue for Florida in a couple of days. No threat to the Bahamas, but we still may see some additional rain and wind as a result of Elsa. That's your morning blend weather check.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out?
Well, the party was nice, the party was pumping.
Hey, yeah. Yippee-yi-yo.
And everybody having a ball.
Yippee-yi-yo.
Until the fellas started name calling.
And we are back with Morning Blend Business on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Straw along with Pamela Musgrove. We are talking with Kim Arana from the Bahamas Humane Society. And if you have questions, you can call in as well. 325-4316 or 325-4259. Tweet us at morningblend969 or facebook.com/morningblend969. Text us 422-4796. So, Kim, let's talk about this. There's a video on your Facebook page, on the Humane Society Facebook page, a volunteer. It is very touching and heartbreaking that she goes around and shows you have there. And every single nook and cranny, there's a dog or a cat. I mean, what is this doing to the society right now, to your volunteers, to just the bottom line? How are you making this? What impact is it having?
It's having a huge impact. I mean, on the volunteers and the staff, everybody is stretched to their absolute maximum. And, it's very difficult working with animals that are unwanted because you get attached to them and it's sad and you want to see them go out and have a good life. And apart from the emotional side, the amount of work is just enormous because every pen has to be kept clean. Every animal has to have fresh water at all times. Everybody has to be fed. Their health has to be monitored. So it's an enormous, our vets are working literally overtime. Added to that, financially, I can't begin to tell you what it's like because even though we have generous donations, it's still not enough to buy these animals, to keep them healthy. The medication, the heartworm pills, the keeping fleas and ticks away, just the basic needs. It is very, very pricey. And we also, our food bank is working overtime because there are people who want to keep their animals. And we go through 12 57-pound bags of dog food a week, giving food out to families who need food to be able to keep their pets. Now, I'm sure as people's jobs get back and tourism gets back, they will need less assistance. But right now, these are people who don't want to give up their animals, and we are able to help them. And I think psychologically that's important because these are people who love their animals, their children love their animals. Everybody's gone through so much in the last 18 months. By keeping their pets, we keep some form of normalcy in their homes.
All right, so tell us more how we can help, how people can donate, what can they do?
What we'd like to be able to start again soon is dog walking. because there are so many of them. They're kept in pens. They need to go out. They need to stretch their legs. We need people who need, we'd love to have people start to sign up for dog walking now that there's a little less COVID out there, or at least I think there's a little less COVID out there. You just gave some statistics that were kind of scary, but we need money. We need money. We need towels. We need newspaper. We need food. When you go to the store and you buy a bag of dog food for your dog, if you can afford it, if you can buy a bag of dog food for us and drop it off, it would mean a lot. Fox Hill Nursery also has a program where people can phone them, give their credit card on the phone, buy a bag from Fox Hill Nursery, and Fox Hill Nursery will deliver it. So it actually saves you having to even, go out and buy it yourself. And then I think probably the biggest thing is keep your animals on your property and have them spayed or neutered. So this problem will not be ongoing. We've got to cut down on the population. And the natural way of doing that is to not adding animals to the population. And the only way of doing that is to spay and neuter.
Wow. You've got a number for people to call for free spay and neuter. You're offering this, so you go out into the community, you go to people's homes and offer this?
Well, we've had it in the newspaper and on the radio that these are spay and neuter clinics that we're doing together with Bark, and people can contact us and they can be slotted in for the clinic that takes place at the Humane Society on specific Sundays. We can also arrange for spay and neuters through Bark at off times when we are not having clinics. That phone number I've given you is actually Bark's phone number, I think, and it enables people to make an appointment to get their animal fixed. We just desperately need people to do that. That is probably the number one. That and keeping your animals on your property. And then, it's not going to be an immediate solution. There is no immediate solution, except we need money, we need food, we need help, and we can continue getting the excess animals into Canada, where they seem to have an unlimited supply of owners who want dogs. America's beginning to dry up. They're having problems of their own, which they weren't having before. And then we just have to be responsible.
Let's say we're successful in the spay and neuter program, and let's say we one day, all the pot cakes have died out. Will that affect our country negatively?
They won't die out.
I'm just saying,
They
say
won't die out.
hypothetical
People
speaking.
will still have their family pet. That controlled births is not a problem. The fact is that these puppies that are being born right now are not because people say, we're going to have some puppies, we have homes lined up, there's no responsibility in it. They just let Fido and Fluffy go out. Fido and Fluffy make puppies, and then they come to us and go, we don't know what to do with these things. The pot cake will never die out. I have been accused of wanting the pot cake to die out various times by people who have nothing else to do but sling insults, and that will never happen. It's like saying rats will die out. There's always going to be rats. There are always going to be pot cakes. There's always going to be cats. There are always going to be birds. But it's just there won't be the unwanted ones that roam the streets hungry. The pot cakes that will remain should be pot cakes that are loved, that are cared for, and there will always be a few strays. You're never going to get a handle on it 150%, but there will not be this insanity that there is right now.
Yep. There's a text here asking about adoption, and they're also saying that the society makes it difficult to adopt. I don't know if you can respond to
Well,
that.
it is difficult in so much as we ask people to have a fenced-in yard, that we don't adopt out dogs that are going to spend the rest of their lives on a chain. People need to have a fenced-in yard. They need to have proper shelter. The animal needs to have an area where he will have access to clean water all day that will not be sitting in the sun. And we like to know that the animal will be fed regularly and not left outside alone, untended to for days on end. I don't think that that's asking too much.
All right. Give us those numbers again as we wrap things up. Numbers to call in, numbers to help.
So, well, you can phone the Bahamas Humane Society is 323-5138. And you can find that on our Facebook page as well and online. And you can, if you go onto the Facebook page, there's an area where you can send messages. And if you tell us how you would like to help or what you would like to do, then we can respond to you. If people want to give food donations, you can drop them off to the shelter almost every weekday. If people want to give donations to our thrift shop, which is very, very important to us and brings in very necessary revenue, it can be dropped off at the Bahamas Humane Society. Just be sure that the staff know that it's for the thrift shop. We need newspapers and towels. Those can be dropped off. Monetary donations can either come in by check, or you can phone and you can use a credit card, or cash is also accepted. But we need everything.
Yeah.
I mean, there is no limit. But if you phone the shelter 323-5138 or go on our Facebook page, then we can have a better interaction on what you would like to give and how we can pick it up or how we can arrange it.
All right.
And as far as the stay and neuter, it's 427-7729.
Yeah. All right.
And, please, 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 everybody, reach out to us. It's a national problem, but it's all on our shoulders, and we need all the help we can get.
Definitely. So much, always a pleasure talking with you. Keep us posted on this. Let us know how things go. I hope people are listening and paying attention to this.
I will, and thank you so much for always being so supportive, Dwight. We really appreciate it.
We appreciate it. Okay. Take care. Thank you again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Pam, hey.
Thank you, Dwight.
Got a lot of work to do.
Week, Bahamas, yes.
Got Independence Day on.
Education.
Yeah. Independence Day.
People grow up thinking a certain way, and that's how.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Got to
Yeah.
change that quick. So Monday we won't see you because we got the holiday on Monday. But thank you very much. Going to see you again soon.
Happy Independence in advance, Bahamas.
And I'll be back tomorrow morning with more Morning Blend and Morning Blend Business right here on Guardian Radio 96.9. Twice run. Have a great one. Aaron Green is next with On the Clock.